Hey speedsters, it's Chronos, back at it with another mind-bending episode of What If Deku Had the Speed Force? Part 3. Massive love to the Speedster Squad for keeping the hype alive. Your support keeps this Speed Force train zooming. Chapter 11, Fixing. Inko was up early that morning making sure they had everything they needed to go to the countryside. Alright, clothes check, medical supplies check, food check, documentation check, alright, everything looks good on this end. Inko turned to the clock to find that it was almost 9. Uraraka's parents were going to pick them up at 9:30. I'd better wake up Izuku. Walking over to his room, she knocked. Izuku, wake up, it's almost time to leave. Inko got no response. Izuku? It's time to wake up. Make sure to grab a jacket. It looks like it's going to rain today. Still no response. Izuku? Inko then opened the door. Izuku? Peeking inside, Inko noticed his stuff by the door. Looking at the bed, she saw that it was made, but only one problem: Izuku wasn't on it. Opening the door fully, Inko looked around the room. Izuku! Now's not the time for games. Please come out, we have to leave, said Inko, now slightly panicking. Walking by his desk, she noticed that there was a note. Reaching for it, Inko grabbed it and began to read it. Dear Mom, I'm sorry. I know you'll probably be angry about this, but it was the only way. I couldn't stand there and watch you cry when I told you this, but I'm not going with you. I'm staying in the city. I know you won't understand why I'm doing this, but trust me when I say that it's for everyone's good. Please get to safety. Once things are done, I'll find you and tell you what really is going on. I love you, Mom, and again, I'm sorry. Placing down the letter, Inko had tears in her eyes. Why? I just don't understand why. Izuku, what exactly are you doing? With Izuku. Standing in an alleyway, Izuku threw over his hood and began to walk down the street. I'll make this right, Mom, I promise you. But first, I need to get my speed back. Making his way towards the beach, Izuku walked into the hut as dark clouds began to roll in from the sea. I should have everything I need here. After the accident, I wrote down everything that was splashed on me, down to the amount. I need to replicate the event that gave me my speed. Grabbing the chemicals, Izuku now had most of them lined up on a desk. He only needed one more, but couldn't find it. Damn it, where is the ninhydrin? Looking for this? Asked a voice behind Izuku. Izuku sighed as he recognized the voice. Hey Hatsum. Getting up and looking behind him, Izuku found Mei holding the chemical he needed. So what's this all about? Asked Mei, looking at the vials of chemicals. This is some heavy-duty stuff you have here. Are you planning on blowing something up or what? What are you doing here, Hatsum? I thought you left the city this morning, said Izuku. Mei looked at the chemical. I can say the same thing to you. I got a call from your mom, who said you went missing. I'm not missing, I'm just getting ready, said Izuku. Now can I please have that chemical back? Not until you tell me what exactly you are planning to do with it, all of it, said Mei. I can't tell you that, said Izuku. Mei hummed. Guess you aren't getting it back then. Izuku reached out to take the chemical, but Mei moved. Answer my question and I might give it to you. Come on, Hatsum, give me the chemical, said Izuku, now slightly annoyed. Once again Izuku reached out for the chemical, but once again Mei moved out of the way. You aren't going to make this easy, are you? Nope, said Mei. After some back and forth, Izuku finally gave up. Fine, I'll tell you. I plan on getting my powers back. Mei raised an eyebrow. Powers? What powers? My super speed. I need to replicate the accident that granted my powers. I need my speed, said Izuku. Mei gave him a confused look. What speed? Like a quirk, Midoriya, you don't have one. I know I don't, but that's not what I'm talking about. Back in my time I was granted super speed. But as Izuku was explaining, Mei cut him off. Your time? What did you mean by that? Asked Mei. Izuku sighed. Does that have something to do with you acting strange these last couple of days? Yes. Izuku looked at Mei. Look, I know what I'm about to say won't make any sense, but please hear me out. I'm not from this timeline, I'm from another timeline. One where the world isn't so messed up. One where my dad and Bakugo are alive but my mom is dead. One where I have super speed due to an accident. One where you and me, not important. What is important is this time is all wrong, the heroes weren't meant to die. This AFO shouldn't be taking over Japan, I know who did this. But to fix everything I need my speed. I need to go back, I need to fix what Melissa broke. I need. Midoriya, slow down. Look around you, you are trying to gain speed with chemicals? That's just scientifically impossible, said May. Let's say I believe you, what were you going to say about you and me? What was different in that timeline between us? Well, in this timeline I'm with Uraraka, but in my original timeline I was with you. May's eyes widened. That's why I called you by your first name, I thought that things stayed the same but that wasn't the case, said Izuku. So that's why you spent more time with me. Izuku nodded. So this Melissa person changed something in the past that affected the time stream? And you need super speed to fix it, how? Asked May. It's complicated, but I tap into a strange force when I move my body at super speeds. Melissa changed something in the past that affected this world. And I intend to find out what, said Izuku. Listen, there isn't much time left, I need to get my speed back. Please give me the chemical. May looked at the chemical and then to Izuku. I still may not know what you are trying to do or what you were talking about. But you've never lied to me before. I'll give it to you, but I'm helping you. Izuku nodded. Thanks, Hatsum, let's get to work. After getting everything he needed, Izuku, with May's help, was now strapped on a chair in the now pouring rain with lightning rods surrounding him. With the chemicals beside him, Hatuzum wasn't liking this. Are you sure this is safe? Not in the slightest. But this is the only way. Now all we need is some help from Mother Nature, said Izuku as lightning strikes were seen from the ocean. All right, Hatsum, get back. I don't want you to get caught in this. Backing away, May watched and waited for lightning to strike Izuku. Looking up, Izuku felt as the rain hit his face. Come on, hit me. In that moment, Izuku's eyes widened when a flash of yellow appeared. Falling from the sky, a bolt of lightning came down and struck Izuku. May shielded her eyes, but as the bolt struck, the shockwave knocked her back. The impact managed to knock her to the sand, but that was the least of her concern right now. Looking at Izuku, she noticed that he had disappeared underneath a ball of flame. Midoriya! Yelled May as Izuku burst into flames. Pushing towards the fire, May took off her raincoat and threw it over Izuku in an effort to smother the fire. After a few seconds, the fire was out, but the damage was already done. Removing the sheet, May's eyes filled with horror as Izuku had third-degree burns all over his body. Even his skin turned black and was smoking as a result. Oh my God, I need to call for help. May reached into her pocket to grab her cell phone, but just as she pressed the first number, Izuku reached out and grabbed her arm. And no, we have to do it again, said Izuku, struggling to get the words out. What? Are you crazy? You look like a burnt light bulb. I'm calling for help now, said May, but she then felt Izuku's grip tighten. Trust me, said Izuku, as rain dripped down his face. May didn't want this, she didn't want to see Izuku like this. The logical thing to do now was to call for help, but she'd known Izuku too long to know that he would stop at nothing to achieve his goal. With a heavy heart, May nodded and quickly went to get more of the chemicals. Soon everything was once again set up, now the only thing that was needed was another bolt of lightning. With his skin still warm at a touch, Izuku waited. However, with every drop of rain that fell on his now exposed skin brought only pain. With each passing second, Izuku could feel his mind starting to lose consciousness. If this didn't happen soon, then Izuku would pass out at best. May looked on again. This is suicide. No, I can't let Midoriya go through this. I have to stop him. Running over to the chair, May reached out to get Izuku off, but in that moment another bolt of lightning came crashing down. Once again the strike hit Izuku, but this time things were different. Izuku could feel the chemicals fall on him. He then felt the electricity course through his veins, in every fiber of his being. Snapping his eyes open, Izuku watched as everything around him was in slow motion. He watched as raindrops slowly fell in front of him. Looking towards the ocean, he saw a wave was just about to crash onto the shore. Looking towards May, he found that she had once again been thrown away. But this time she wasn't falling for the sand, instead she was blown towards a pile of metal scraps they had outside the hut. No, May. With green lightning jumping off his body, Izuku sprung into action. May felt the strike push her off her feet, she looked back to see where she was flying towards. She then saw it, the metal scraps. Mei knew that if she hit the scraps it would mean serious injury. But before Mei could even think about anything else, a flash of green was seen that engulfed the entire beach. Blinded temporarily, Mei soon opened her eyes to find that she was being held by Izuku. Looking down at her, Izuku smiled. "Believe me now?" Mei reached out and touched his face as it began to heal rapidly. "Wow, guess you really were telling the truth." After fully healing, Izuku and Mei went back inside the hut. "This is amazing. The burns you suffered would have taken months to heal and would have left scars. But you healed in a few minutes, and no scars either." Izuku put on a new shirt and pants. "Yeah, that's the same reaction you had the first time you saw this." "I am seeing this for the first time." "Different timeline, remember?" said Mei. "Right, I almost forgot," joked Izuku. Mei's face then turned serious. "So now that you have your speed, are you going to stop this Melissa person?" Izuku nodded. "Yeah, I am. I have to find out what she changed and change it back." "I see, then you might need this," said Mei, tossing something over to Izuku. Catching it, Izuku noticed what it was. "I saw it on the workbench, thought it might be important," said Mei. Izuku smirked as he held onto Melissa's red costume. "Thanks, but this isn't mine. It's Melissa's, although I do need a suit now." That's when Izuku got an idea. "Let's see what I can do, red isn't really my color." Disappearing for a few seconds, he reappeared. Izuku now held onto his green costume. "Much better." Spinning around rapidly, Izuku stopped, showing that he now put on the costume. "Yeah, you look better in green," said Mei. "Now you better go and find this Melissa person and fix things." "I will, thank you, handsome," said Izuku. "Don't thank me, just go fix this world already," said Mei, smiling. With a flash of green trailing behind him, Izuku took off towards Yue. "It's not like this, me will keep on going." Yue. Making it to Yue in 10 seconds, Izuku went towards Class 1A. "Hey Shirakumo! Are you here?" asked Izuku. For a few seconds Izuku didn't get a response. It was only after he stepped on a leaf he got a response. "I'm here." Taken by surprise, Izuku jumped. "Where the heck did you come from?" "Family secret, so you being here, does that mean you got your speed back?" asked Shirakumo. Izuku nodded as he raised his arm and began to vibrate it at super speeds. "It hurt like hell, but it was worth it." "Good, now we can get down to business. However, before we do that, I need to know. Do you have family nearby? Anyone who can get hurt when the fighting starts?" asked Shirakumo. "I have family and someone I care about, but they are in the countryside right now or about to leave. They should be safe," explained Izuku. Shirakumo nodded. "Good, then don't hold back. Come, I got the backup we need to pull this off." Following Shirakumo, Izuku was taken to the gym where they stood in the middle of it. Plus Ultra. With those two words, the floor underneath began to move. Izuku was surprised to say the least. He didn't know Yue had this type of gear. Making it down to the lower level, Izuku saw several screens a bit further down turned on. "What is this?" "It's a bunker the school had in case of a villain attack on the main campus. This was meant to serve as a last resort when the students couldn't get out or the teachers failed. Now I use it to keep up with news about AFO," explained Shirakumo. "Wow, Yue sure doesn't cheap out on things. So who are these people you were talking about?" asked Izuku. Walking over to the screen, Shirakumo pressed a button and on said screen appeared two men. One had on a tank top, was full of muscle, and had a prosthetic eye. "So this is the kid we are banking on?" "Shirakumo, you told us that the person would be strong. He doesn't seem too strong to me," explained another person. This person had on a long plague doctor's mask and was wearing white gloves. "Guys, relax, he's strong, trust me. If he wasn't, I wouldn't have said anything about him." Shirakumo turned to Izuku. "You are strong, right?" Izuku rubbed the back of his head. "Well, I'm not physically strong per se. I'm just fast, stupid fast." Shirakumo blinked a couple of times before letting out a sigh. "Well, it works. Muscular, overhaul, meet Midoriya. He can move really fast." "Let's see," said Muscular, crossing his arms. "I want to see how fast he is." Izuku smirked. "Alright, fine. Where are you now?" "In a compound 75 miles east of your location. explained Muscular. He then reached into his eye and removed the prosthetic. Come and find me. If you can take this eye from me, then I'll. What, this eye? Asked Izuku. Muscular looked at Izuku holding his prosthetic eye in his hand. But the thing was, Izuku was with Shirakumo right now. Muscular looked at his hand and noticed that his eye was gone. How did you? Izuku disappeared and reappeared in a split second. I told you I'm fast. That's when Muscular touched his eye and noticed that it was back. Well, I'll be damned. This kid really is fast, said Muscular. Now that we have confirmed his usefulness, let's get on with it. What's your plan for taking down All for One? Asked Overhaul. Easy, we fight him head on. Reports have it that the US and Japan are going to launch a full-scale assault on the villain. An aerial assault followed by ground troops. What they don't know is that AFO has his own forces. Pressing a button on the control panel, an image of a Nomu appeared. Izuku flinched at the sight of it. These are Nomas. Genetically altered humans that were turned into these monsters by AFO. They have quirks thanks to their once human hosts, so we have to be careful. Each has also been augmented with super strength and durability. Taking one down won't be easy. That's where we come in. We'll be leading the charge after the ground troops to help them. Once we've cleared away, we move in for the big bad and take him down. Muscular raised an eyebrow. What about the kid? He will be busy with another problem. It's too complicated to explain, but know this: if he wins, then this world will go back to how it was. The whereabouts of the person he's looking for is unknown. Right now, the only working theory of their location is that they might be at the fight, explained Shirakumo. If you see a person in a red costume like his, run away. You won't be able to stand up to them. This person, are they affiliated with AFO? Asked Overhaul. As far as I know, no. But there is reason to believe that this time might be different. I'm the only one who can take this person on and have the best chance of survival, said Izuku, stepping forward. I need to stop them and find out what they've changed and fix it before it's too late. However, at that moment Izuku's head once again began to hurt. But this time the pain was excruciating. It seemed as the very nerves in his head were being ripped apart, sending signals throughout his body. Screaming out in pain, Izuku grabbed his head before falling to the ground. Kid! Yelled Shirakumo as he went to check on him. Damn it, he's having a seizure. His time and this one are conflicting in his mind. If he doesn't do anything about it, then. That's when Shirakumo realized what would happen. Running over to a cabinet, he grabbed some sort of medicine and injected it into Izuku's leg. Izuku stopped screaming as soon as the medicine went in. Come on, kid, stay with me. We need you for this to work. After stabilizing Izuku, Shirakumo went back to explaining the plan to the others. Once they heard the details, they agreed to join him. Since there were still a few days left, and there were still things to get ready, the group agreed to meet the morning before the assault. But the military was going to commence their attack sometime around noon. Only one problem: Izuku wasn't waking up. It was now the morning of the attack and Shirakumo was nervous. The whole reason why he agreed to make this plan was so that Izuku could find Melissa and find out what she changed and fix it. Without him, then there was no point to any of this. Feeling a bit frustrated, Shirakumo looked at an old picture of his friends. What do I do, guys? If he doesn't wake up, your sacrifice would have been in vain. They won't be, said Izuku, sitting up from his bed. I won't let it happen. Shirakumo went over to Izuku and helped him sit up. Kid! You're awake! So does that mean? Izuku shook his head. No, I still remember. But I also remember more stuff from this timeline. How I got together with Uraraka, the day my dad and Bakugo died. My memories are being rewritten. If we don't find out what Melissa changed, then I'll lose it all. Shirakumo's eyes widened. No! You can't do that. You have to remember Aizawa. Don't you dare forget him. The world may have already forgotten him, but don't forget. I won't. How long do we have until AFO attacks? Asked Izuku. Less than 12 hours, answered Shirakumo. And we only have 2 reinforcements. This doesn't look like it's a fight we are going to win, said Izuku, getting up. There are other heroes, but from what Overhaul has told me, they won't join us. Rumors are spreading that some of the villains are going to launch an attack and have some sort of weapon that might take down AFO, but it's just that, rumors, said Shirakumo. There's only one person who can take down AFO, said Izuku. Shirakumo looked at Izuku. That's suicide. You'll never get him out. Besides, we don't even know where he is. It's worth a try. We have 12 hours to find him, or else this entire world is gone. Pressing a button, the computer Izuku brought up an image of All Might. You saw the broadcast. For all we know, All Might is dead. Besides, his quirk is gone. He won't be of any help to us, argued Shirakumo. Izuku shook his head. He's not dead. AFO is like Melissa. He won't kill his greatest enemy until they know they are the ones who did it or they have achieved their goal. Shirakumo was surprised. Can anyone be that sick in the head? Yes. Melissa is a prime example. But forget about that now. What do you have on All Might? Asked Izuku. Going over to the computer, Shirakumo brought up an image of Japan. The map showed 2 red dots. When the broadcast went out, I picked up the signal and noticed that it was being pinged from different locations. I narrowed down the frequencies, giving me 2 possible locations. One is a commercial area. The other is in a hospital a few cities down. Then we'll start at the commercial area. With any luck, we might find him there. We move out now, get what you need, said Izuku as he walked away from the monitor. Shirakumo was surprised. When did he become so commanding? He kind of reminds me of Aizawa, minus the bored look. Hey wait, what about Melissa? Weren't you going to find her? Izuku didn't even turn around. I already know where she'll be. Commercial area, 10 hours before attack. Standing outside of a building, Izuku and Shirakumo noticed that it was a bar. This is one of the locations? Asked Izuku. Shirakumo nodded. Seems like it, although it does seem a bit out of place. Izuku looked at the building, but found nothing that would stand out. How so? Shirakumo nodded. Look at the buildings surrounding it. Each one of them have power lines going into them, while this bar doesn't. So unless they have invisible wires, they are drawing power from something else. Let's go find out what's going on, said Izuku as he pulled his mask down. Follow in behind me. Shirakumo nodded. With green lightning crackling around him, Izuku took off towards the bar. Making it to the front door, Izuku placed his hands on it and began to vibrate his hands. Just a bit more speed and I'll break through. This is just like at the... Izuku tried to remember where he did this move before but couldn't. Was it the park? No, that doesn't sound right. A warehouse? Oh God, I can't remember. Melissa better be where I think she'll be. I'm starting to lose more of my original memories. With a loud boom, the door exploded open. Seeing this happen, Shirakumo rushed towards the building. At the same time, Izuku rushed inside as the door, and the debris looked as if it was in slow motion. Quickly looking around, Izuku didn't find anyone. Time then went back to normal as the door fell to the ground just as Shirakumo rushed and ready for a fight. Don't bother, no one is here, explained Izuku. Nothing? At all? Asked Shirakumo. Izuku shook his head. I'll look around, maybe there's something you missed. See if you can find anything that will help us out. With that, Izuku ran towards the other rooms, checking them all for any useful information. His green lightning struck the walls as he ran by. Soon, he checked all the rooms again but found nothing useful. However, he did notice that one of the rooms had been used recently. With nothing else to go through, Izuku went to find Shirakumo. He found him standing behind the bar moving around some bottles. Now is not the time for a drink, said Izuku. I'm not drinking. I think I found something, explained Shirakumo. Izuku walked over but just found bottles of alcohol. I don't get it, said Izuku. It's just a wall of alcohol. You're a bit young so you wouldn't understand. These bottles are out of order. At small bars like these you want customers to see the top shelf stuff. No self-respecting bar owner would keep a $10,000 bottle on the bottom shelf. All of these bottles are mixed up, so once you move them to their proper place. Grabbing the last bottle, Shirakumo placed it down. As soon as he did, a loud clicking sound was heard. The two turned around to find the front of the bar where you serve the drinks was moving. The entire part was shifting to the left as it did. It exposed steps leading down. Once it had finished, Izuku and Shirakumo looked at each other. You don't think? Asked Shirakumo. Only one way to find out, said Izuku as he walked down the steps. They soon found themselves underneath the bar, and what they found surprised them. The area was large, the same length as 10 football fields at least, and 2 fields wide. All along the walls, in every possible place laid several pods filled with green mossy liquid. What is all this? Asked Izuku. Walking over to one, Shirakumo noticed something. There's something inside of the pods. Shirakumo went in to get a closer look when from the water a disfigured face popped up, scaring the hero. What the hell? What are those things? Are these the Nomus? Asked Izuku as he walked deeper into this place. Finding a computer, Izuku went on it to see what he could find. Going through it, he noticed that there were several files. Clicking on one of the folders, Izuku noticed that it had a video. Appearing on the screen was a female doctor with a white lab coat. Behind her appeared a man with no shirt or clothes strapped to a medical bed. Experiment 452 will now begin. The process of obtaining enough test subjects has been getting increasingly difficult and quality has been lackluster. But I have to make do with what my master gives me. Subject is in full restraints and serum will now be injected. The doctor then pressed a button causing large needles to appear from the sides. They then stopped in front of the man before digging into various places in his body. One of them included a needle into the back of his head. Screaming out in pain, the man let out cries for help, but the doctor just laughed and seemed to enjoy hearing him scream. Pressing another button, the doctor then injected the man with some sort of drug. Taking an immediate effect, the man suddenly began to convulse. The heart rate monitor attached to his chest began to beep as the man's heart rate skyrocketed. Before long, the man began to change. His once slightly tanned skin began to turn black with red streaks running down his arms and legs. Suddenly growing in height and weight, the man collapsed the bed he was on due to sheer weight. Yes. Come on. All I need is one viable test subject. Soon the man's face began to morph into something not human-like. Slowly it turned into a more bird-like feature. Izuku's eyes widened when he saw this. The monster from the... Izuku tried to remember the place but once again found himself unable to remember. Hey kid, what's wrong? It looks like you've seen a ghost, said Shirakumo. Izuku took a deep breath. I'm fine, it's just I've seen that creature before but I can't remember where. These are the Nomus. Those things look strong enough to take down All Might, said Shirakumo. Let's go, we didn't find him here. It was a long shot but at least we came out with some information. Izuku turned to Shirakumo. What about these things? We can't just leave them. That's when Izuku saw Shirakumo pull out several C4 explosives from a cloud. We won't. The yield is concentrated so there should be minimal damage to the surrounding buildings. Once I set them up, run us out of here. Izuku nodded as Shirakumo began to place the charges. But as Izuku waited for him to be finished, a tapping sound was heard. What was that? Shirakumo stopped. What was what? Izuku ran over to a wall. After a few seconds he heard the tapping again. It's behind this wall. Hey, bring some of that C4. Placing the C4 on the wall, Izuku and Shirakumo took cover and with a click of a button a small explosion ripped through the underground compound. Izuku ran into the room as the dust was settling, and what he saw shocked him. Shirakumo! Get in here now! Running in, Shirakumo was ready for a fight, but what he saw shocked him as well. My God! You were right. He isn't dead. There, chained up against the wall, broken, bloody, and burned, was All Might in his skinny form. Izuku quickly ran in and began to unhook All Might from his trap. Once free, the once great hero fell. Using his quirk, Shirakumo created a cloud and caught the hero. What the hell did All for One do to him? Asked Shirakumo. I don't know. But he needs help right now. Once we are out, blow this place up, said Izuku as he watched the hero move on the cloud. Sorry, but I can't let you leave this place, said a voice from the hole they came in. Standing in the hole was AFO. Izuku and Shirakumo stood in shock as they were now face to face with the man who could destroy cities without even blinking. Not after you found him. All Might's services are still needed. Izuku could feel the darkness surrounding AFO. Just what the hell is he? Shirakumo gritted his teeth. Why you, what did you do to him? AFO laughed. Nothing much really. He had something I wanted so I decided to take it. His quirk, answered Izuku. Yes, but unfortunately, I was misinformed. It turns out his quirk can't be forced upon another or taken. It must be given willingly, and well, that was never going to happen. So I went for the next best thing, said AFO. Shirakumo put it together. The Noma. Precisely, each one of those Nomas have been genetically modified to take on All Might himself. Analyzing his DNA, I was able to find weaknesses I would have never searched for. Now with an army of Nomas with the power to destroy All Might, I can take over the world, boasted AFO. Why are you telling us this? Asked Shirakumo. All for One grinned. Simple, dead men tell no tale. Raising his hand, AFO caused Izuku and Shirakumo to flinch. That's when black tendrils shot out of the villain's fingers and headed towards the two. Moving fast enough, Izuku managed to grab Shirakumo and move him out of the way. The black tendril stabbed into the ground. Oh! Impressive, you managed to dodge my tendrils. The other heroes who found me before didn't do as well. Now that's a quirk worth taking. Izuku smiled. Sorry, but I like my powers, so if you don't mind, we'll be leaving. Grabbing Shirakumo, the cloud with All Might on it, and with green lightning jumping off of his body, Izuku took off towards the entrance. He assumed that he was faster than AFO, but that soon became untrue when a tendril appeared. Moving out of the way, Izuku was going to dodge it when All for One moved his arm. This caused the tendril to change direction. Izuku's eyes widened. He can track me. At these speeds? Izuku jumped into the air, but as he did, the tendril managed to cut him across the thigh. With blood running down his leg, Izuku stopped in the middle of the hallway surrounded by the tubes. Maybe you aren't as fast as I thought, said AFO. Izuku looked down at his leg. I'm slower. Something is wrong with my speed. I should be faster than this, much faster. Now stay there while I kill you both, said AFO, as his arm began to turn into a spring. Not even giving him a chance to launch his attack, Izuku took off. He wasn't going to stay around and fight. He knew he couldn't win. AFO smiled as the green trail of lightning left the room. Deactivating high quirks, AFO put his arm down. They got away. Oh well, it's not like they can do anything to me anymore. This world will be mine, but first comes Japan. Making it to UA, Izuku put Shirakumo down. We need to help him, said Izuku as he looked at the cloud with all might. Get him down to the bunker now, ordered Shirakumo. Rushing towards the bunker, Shirakumo began to work on the hero. But with his injuries, the only thing that was for certain was, All Might was lucky to be alive. After taking 2 hours to patch him up, Shirakumo let the hero rest. How is he? Asked Izuku. Alive, but weak. He won't be able to move for a while, explained Shirakumo. Izuku balled his fist. Then he can't fight, and if he can't fight, then we lose. All Might truly was the only one who could defeat him, said Shirakumo. Now what do we do? Izuku sighed. The plan stays the same. We move once All for One attacks. Are you crazy? Asked Shirakumo. It's over, kid. Without All Might we don't stand a chance. It's not over yet, said Izuku as he turned to leave. But as he did, Shirakumo grabbed him by the shoulder and turned him around. Listen, kid, we gave it a try, but it's over. AFO won even before he attacked. Izuku threw off Shirakumo's hand. It's not over. We are still here, right? As long as we're here, then there's still hope, still a chance. I can't give up. I still have to find Melissa and fix what she broke. Shirakumo's expression turned to one of anger. You go towards the fighting, then what? You'll die without any plan. I won't, my speed will help me, answered Izuku. Oh, will it? Rushing towards Izuku, Shirakumo pulled his fist back and punched Izuku in the chest. It managed to send Izuku forward a few meters. Groaning in pain, Izuku got up and stared at Shirakumo. Your speed isn't good if you can't fight properly. FYI, that was me holding back. I let you have that one, said Izuku. Shirakumo scoffed. You didn't let me have shit. I'm just better. Without warning, Izuku ran at Shirakumo in an effort to punch him. But seeing that Izuku was much slower, Shirakumo dodged using a cloud. The cloud blocked Izuku's view. As he tried to get it off of him, Shirakumo had disappeared from his sight. Up here, kid! Looking up, Izuku found Shirakumo in the air, and before he could react, Izuku was met by a powerful kick across the face. This caused Izuku to slam against the wall. How? Asked Izuku as blood ran down his lip. Shirakumo then stopped in front of him. You may be fast, but your moves are too linear. Even a much slower opponent can predict your movements. Then grabbing him by the costume, Shirakumo picked up Izuku. Think rationally, kid, you can't win. It's over. I won't let you kill yourself over this. With a stern look on his face, Izuku vibrated his hand and moving it faster than Shirakumo could react, he hit him in the chest. The speed and vibration caused the hero to fly across the room before slamming against the monitor. I will do what I have to do. I get it, you've lost people, I have too, but people are waiting for me in another time, so I won't give up. If you aren't going to help me, then stay out of my way. With that, Izuku walked away but stopped halfway. If Aizawa was here, he wouldn't have given up this easily. In a flash of green, Izuku took off, leaving Shirakumo to his thoughts. Picking himself off the floor, Shirakumo cursed himself. Damn it! Hours later. The time was now, the limit set by AFO had just expired and still Japan refused to submit to him. The only thing that was left was to find this villain and fight him, but that was proving more difficult. No radar, quirk, or satellite could find him, but they soon found out where he was. Floating over Japan's parliament building, AFO appeared. He watched as the military were evacuating civilians. I gave you a chance, now suffer for your insolence. Raising his hand high into the air, All for One activated a quirk. From the palm of his hand a ball of black energy appeared, small at first, but it soon began to grow and grow until it was the size of an 8-story building. With this, my world begins. While yours falls. Throwing his arm down, AFO launched the ball of energy towards the ground. Hitting the tip of the parliament building, the ball of energy compressed before expanding in a massive explosion. The entire city of Tokyo where the parliament building was located was leveled, even the nearby cities were severely damaged as a result. The world watched as Japan had lost another city, gone along with the countless people dead in an instant. Now where the once great city stood, only the empty silence and a crater stood. One down, several more to go. Sensing something coming, AFO turned around and raised his hand, stopping an artillery shell. Looking down, he noticed that several divisions were moving towards his location. Pests. Closing his hands, AFO activated another quirk. This one opened up several hundred black sludge portals. From them a hand reached out. Soon the face of a bird-like monster appeared roaring. From the portals hundreds of the gnomes appeared ready to take on everyone. Go my pretties, run wild. Kill all those who get in your way. In another city. Izuku looked down at his phone. He looked on as AFO erased an entire city in the blink of an eye. After leaving Shirakumo, Izuku looked for Melissa but couldn't find her, but he knew where she would be. Melissa would be somewhere in Japan, and would only appear once Izuku made it to the battlefield. Sighing, Izuku stood up. This is what Melissa wants, but I can't just stand here and watch people die. I'll save as many as I can, but Melissa is my target. Crouching down in a sprinter's stance, Izuku let his green lighting jump off of him. With his head down, Izuku felt his muscles tighten, and with a powerful push, Izuku raised his head. With his eyes burning green with energy, Izuku took off. The sky lit up with green lightning, a sign that Izuku was coming. Shirakumo, who was standing atop of Yue, saw the lightning. There he goes. Stupid kid is just going to die. If you're worried about him, then go. If you don't, you'll regret it. Don't let this become another incident like with Aizawa, said a voice behind Shirakumo. However, he wasn't the only one who saw the green lightning. Standing atop Mount Fuji, Melissa too saw the green lightning. So you finally decided to move. Very well then, I guess I should do the same. Pulling her mask down, and with red lightning jumping off her body, Melissa too was ready to fight. Chapter 12, Goodbye. Gunfire erupted from the rifles of each soldier. At the same time, the monster roars of the gnomes echoed throughout the battlefield. Shit! Focus on one! Bring down these bastards! Yelled out a squad commander. His men threw grenades, emptied their clips, and reloaded their weapons as the gnomes approached. But as they were firing, a roar was heard from above. Looking up, one of the men found a creature coming down on them. Landing on top of a Humvee, the vehicle exploded, sending the men to the floor. But before anyone could get up, they were picked up by the gnomes and killed. One soldier managed to crawl away but didn't get far when a gnome grabbed him. Lifting him off the ground, the gnome roared in his face. The soldier's face was filled with fear as the creature began to squeeze the life out of him. Feeling his bones breaking, the man thought this was the end, but as the gnome was about to deliver the final crushing blow, a green streak of light was seen zigzagging throughout the battlefield. Faster than the Noma could see, the creature no longer had the man in its grasp. Suddenly feeling the ground underneath his feet, the man looked up to see Izuku. "Are you alright?" asked Izuku as green lightning cracked around him. Lost for words, the soldier nodded. "Good, stay here. You're at a safe distance." Looking around, the soldiers saw that several more of his fellow troops were here. Izuku was about to take off, but the man called out. "Wait! Who are you? You're a hero, right?" Izuku didn't even turn around. "I'm just someone who wants to help. Stay here and look after the others." With a loud boom, Izuku took off back towards the fighting. With everything slowing down around him, Izuku could see everything, every bullet, every splatter of blood, and every person. He watched as the troops managed to kill Inomu. He could also see the many deaths of the brave men and women who fought. He would save who he could, but in those few moments when he wasn't there, many more soldiers fell, killed by the creatures. Knowing what he had to do, Izuku ran at one. With green sparks jumping off of his body, Izuku began to rotate his arms in a circular motion. With enough speed, Izuku created a massive tornado that knocked several Nomas away. The troops cheered as Izuku stood in front of them. Their savior had arrived. But all of this soon caught the eye of one man, All for One. Looking down and seeing Izuku run throughout the wasteland intrigued him. "Just who is this person? I'm sure I would have dealt with him years ago if they were this fast. It can't be." As Izuku stood in front of the soldiers, he looked back at them. "Get back! You can't fight these things." But before any of them could move, something came crashing down in front of Izuku. The impact managed to send Izuku flying back towards the soldiers. Catching him, the soldiers made sure he was all right. "I should have known you'd come here." Izuku was lifted to his feet. "What, miss me already?" AFO laughed. "Not particularly, but I am curious. What did you do with All Might?" With green lightning jumping off his body, Izuku stared down the villain. "Wouldn't you like to know? You intend to fight me, boy? Please, the only one who could have taken me on was All Might. And you are no All Might," taunted AFO. Izuku smirked. "I may not be All Might, but I am much faster than he is." "That is yet to be seen. If you think you have a chance, then." But as AFO was talking, a green streak of light appeared in front of him. With his fist pulled back, Izuku smiled as his body sparked. In a flash, Izuku punched the villain across the face. AFO's head whiplashed to the side. The actual punch did little damage, but just as he turned his head around, another punch came in. Appearing and disappearing all around the villain, Izuku would come in and punch him across the face. Soon the powerful villain found himself on his knees as the blows kept coming at super speeds. However, AFO had just the quirk for this. Suddenly his eyes began to glow red with power. With a powerful yell, AFO got up as a red burst of energy irradiated from his body. The blast caught Izuku by surprise and managed to knock him through a destroyed tank. "Fool, I have several quirks. I could kill you with just about all of them. But this one is my favorite." Once again AFO's eyes began to glow, but this time, instead of a burst of energy, 2 red beams appeared from his eyes. Izuku, who was barely picking himself up, saw the death beams headed towards him. "Shit, got to move!" In a flash of green, Izuku took off, but as he looked behind him, he noticed the beams of energy were tracking him. "Oh, you gotta be kidding me!" As Izuku ran through the battlefield, he looked around to find a solution to his problem. That's when he noticed the Nomas. "Please let this work." Running at a group of 4 Nomas, Izuku ran in between them. The beams of energy pierced the 4 monsters before exploding. The shockwave sent Izuku flying towards a destroyed building. Perhaps you are as fast as you say. Maybe your quirk is worth taking." "Nomas, bring me his head," ordered AFO. The Nomas roared as they went to execute their orders, but as they did, gunfire erupted. The soldiers Izuku saved opened fire. "Don't let them get close to the kid," one yelled. All for One turned towards them as bullets bounced off his body. "Forget the boy, dispose of these insects." With a new target, the Nomas all focused on the men. They stood no chance. From the rubble, Izuku could hear the men being ripped apart. "No!" Quickly getting up, Izuku rushed the opening, but just before he could reach it to help the men, a red streak of light smashed into him, pushing him back down to the ground. Well, if it isn't Izuku. "Did you like my little present?" asked Melissa, standing in front of Izuku. With bruises covering his face, Izuku's eyes widened when he saw her. "Melissa! I've been looking for you!" yelled Izuku as he got up. "Aw, aren't you sweet? Well, it has been a while since we last met. If memory serves me right, you threw me into the Speed Force." "That wasn't very nice, Izuku," said Melissa with a pouting face. Izuku gritted his teeth. "What did you do, Melissa? You changed something that ruined everything. What was it?" Melissa smirked. "If you want to know that, you'll just have to catch me." Without warning, Izuku ran towards Melissa. She in turn ran away. The two then ran throughout the battlefield. As they did, the two took shots at each other. Izuku tried to punch Melissa, but she simply grabbed his arm and threw him towards a wall. Flipping in the air, Izuku twisted his body and landed feet first on the wall. Without missing a beat, Izuku began to run on the wall itself. Melissa let out a smile as she saw this. "Since when did you learn to do that? Look at you, getting stronger and faster. I wonder who gave you that motivation? Was it me? I hope it was me. After all we've been through, I'm sure it was." Copying him, Melissa too began to run along it. "Shut up!" yelled Izuku as he tried to smack Melissa across the face. Speeding up, Melissa ducked under the punch and came up and uppercut Izuku. As Izuku flew upward, he managed to grab Melissa by the costume and drag her along. The two then fly across the sky before falling to the ground. Lucky for them, they both landed on their feet and continued to run, with Izuku giving chase. "You ruined this world!" yelled Izuku as he tried to punch Melissa. "Countless people died, heroes dead, and to top it all off, my father and best friend dead. What did you change?" Dodging with ease, Melissa began to play with Izuku, tripping him up, slapping him across the face a couple of times, and even running circles around him. "Answer me! You villain!" That word caused Melissa's eyes to widen. "What did you just say?" Grabbing Izuku by the mask, Melissa threw him head first into a brick wall. The wall cracked before falling over on top of Izuku. "What did you just call me?" yelled Melissa as she pulled him out and ran. Putting him in front of her, Melissa forced Izuku to crash through buildings, rocks, nomas, and military vehicles. It was the same as the last time they fought, only this time, Melissa wasn't playing around. Finally spinning around, Melissa threw him to the slope of the crater. Bloody and bruised, Izuku gasped for air. "You call yourself a hero, and me a villain? You don't even know what it means, do you? Who are you to judge who's right and who's wrong?" Just then AFO landed atop of the outer rim of the crater. Looking down, he noticed the two fighting. "Another one? How bizarre. No matter, with the two of you here I can kill both of you at the same time." Raising his arm, AFO created a large ball of black energy. Melissa looked up at the villain and didn't even flinch. "Take him for example, he thinks what he's doing is right. Does he think he's a villain? No. Then maybe he's a hero." "Wrong again. There is only one person who stood the test of time when called a hero." Just as All for One was going to launch the ball of energy, a high-pitched sound was heard. AFO stopped. "What is that sound?" Looking up, AFO activated another quirk that gave him the ability to see at long range. "And no, that's impossible." Whatever it was, it had AFO scared. Finally crashing down in front of the villain, a loud booming voice was heard. "I don't know who the girl in the red is, but the boy in green is a friend. I would kindly ask you to leave him alone." From the smoke, a massive fist appeared in front of AFO and managed to connect. The hit sent the villain flying back several meters. Regaining his composure, AFO dug his feet into the ground, appending the very earth underneath him. "There's no way you should be back. Your injuries." From the smoke, standing proud but with bandage wraps around his arms and legs, stood All Might. "Never underestimate the burning fire within me. That, and I had some help." "Heads up, kid," said a voice behind Melissa. Turning around, Melissa found Shirakumo, only to be kicked across the face. Landing in front of Izuku, Shirakumo stretched out his arm. "Need a hand?" "I didn't think you would show up," said Izuku, grabbing Shirakumo's hand. With his help, Izuku now stood up. "Yeah, well, someone told me if I didn't go I would regret it. Look, I was wrong, alright. So how about we forget about that and focus on this person?" proposed Shirakumo. Izuku nodded. "I appreciate the help, but you're too slow. You'll only get in my way. Go deal with the nomas and protect the soldiers." "I knew that kick was too easy." "Alright, fine, but you better find out what she did. With that, Shirakumo used his quirk and flew towards the soldiers. Appearing in a flash of red, Melissa glared at Izuku. I see you brought backup. Unfortunately for you, it doesn't matter how many people you bring. Today is the day where you all die. The two then ran at each other as sparks jumped and crashed all over the area surrounding them. With a loud boom, a shockwave radiated from their fight. But as they fought, Izuku noticed that no matter how fast he was going, Melissa was just faster. Izuku would go in for a punch, only to have her disappear and reappear to his side and counter. What's wrong, Izuku? Are you feeling a bit slow? Asked Melissa as she kneed him in the stomach. Something's wrong, I should be faster than you, argued Izuku as he ran. Appearing beside him, Melissa smiled. You are, or should I say was. You feel it, don't you? Your connection to the speed force is weaker. And do you want to know why? It doesn't matter. I only want to know one thing from you, said Izuku. As the two ran, Izuku noticed they were headed towards the direction of bullets that had already been fired. As everything moved in slow-mo, Izuku grabbed a piece of debris out of the air and threw it at Melissa. The debris managed to hit Melissa in the leg, causing her to fall. Before she even had a chance to recover, Izuku appeared and held her down. Tell me what you did. What did you change in the past? Demanded Izuku. Melissa then smirked. That's the beauty of it, Izuku. Suddenly vibrating her entire body, Melissa managed to push Izuku away. Falling to the floor, it was now Melissa's turn to hold Izuku down. Looking at her, Izuku found her red glowing eyes staring down at her. This is all your fault, Izuku. You caused all of this. Izuku's eyes widened. Liar! Vibrating his hand, Izuku tried to attack Melissa, but she quickly got out of the way. Standing up, Izuku looked around, only to be punched across the face. You feel it in your bones, Izuku. You know I'm telling the truth. You also know what happened that changed all of this, taunted Melissa. I don't remember, yelled Izuku as he tried to fight back to no avail. That's when Izuku felt something pierce his side. Looking to his left, Izuku found Melissa stabbing the bayonet of a rifle into his side. Then let me help you remember. Faster than Izuku could react, Melissa plunged her hand into Izuku's chest. Since you have never time traveled before, your internal molecular structure must be out of sync. Lucky for you, I can fix it. Unlucky for you, this is going to hurt a lot. Vibrating her fist and generating a substantial amount of red lightning, Melissa began the process. That's when Izuku screamed out in agony as his entire molecular structure was being rearranged. Inside his mind, Izuku saw flashes of his memory. One where he sat atop of the Yue arena, another where he sat with Mei, then when he kissed her. You were doing so well in the sports festival, but something in the back of your head kept telling you to do it. Do you remember what it was? Asked Melissa as her voice echoed inside Izuku's mind. That's when the image changed to one where Izuku ran into the speed force. He then saw it. He went back in time to that fateful day. You were there, Izuku, the day when your mother was supposed to die by my hand. But it didn't quite turn out that way. No, you finally did it, Izuku. You stopped me from killing your mother. What a hero. But like a stone thrown into still water, ripples appeared. But you didn't just disrupt a small puddle, no, you disrupted the timeline. Throwing everything off slightly from the true timeline, but enough. Enough to create this world, this timeline, said Melissa as she pulled her hand free. So tell me, Izuku, do you remember now, or did you already know and not say anything? With tears running down his face, Izuku ran at Melissa. I remember. I've always known. But it wouldn't have changed this much. Throwing another barrage of punches, Melissa laughed. You are such an amateur. As someone once said, time travel theory is a bitch. With blood running down his nose, Izuku fell to his knees. Well, I had my fun, guess it's time to finally end you. Izuku spit blood onto the floor. Why, you can't kill me, if I die you'll never become you. Melissa smiled. I thought the same thing, that is until I figured it out. You see, when we last fought you threw me into the speed force, tried to get me lost in it. Unfortunately for you, I was still in it when you decided to travel back in time. And since the speed force isn't time, instead intertwined with it, I've become something that exists outside of it. You just made me into an unkillable being. No matter what happens to me now, the past, or the future, I will always exist. You just lifted the very thing holding me back, so in a sense, I should thank you. Raising her hand into the air, Melissa began to vibrate it. Well, it's been fun, Izuku. But once I'm done with you, I'll move on to the other versions of you. Maybe I'll make it so you were never born, or I can make it so that you never have kids and your legacy dies with you. So many choices, so much time. Sorry, but you'll have to come back to that. Appearing on Melissa's face was a cloud that obstructed her vision. In a state of shock, Melissa tried to remove the cloud only to have another appear. Running over to Izuku, Shirakumo helped him up. Come on, kid, you can still fix everything. You just have to go back and stop yourself. But as Shirakumo was explaining, Melissa came in and cracked the hero across the face. Well, if it isn't the survivor. Aren't you a sight for sore eyes? Staggering back, Shirakumo tried to fight back, but with Melissa's speed he didn't stand a chance. With blood splattering across the ground, Shirakumo was beaten to an inch of his life. Grabbing the hero by the costume, Melissa smiled. You may be known in this time, but in the future you are forgotten. A worthless speck in the fabric of history. You watched as your precious friend died before your eyes, right? Then you can do the same, and watch this entire world crumble. Letting the hero go, Melissa then turned her attention back to Izuku. Now, where were we? Standing on wobbly legs, Izuku put his fist up. I was just about to kick your ass. We'll see, mocked Melissa as red lightning jumped off of her body. Running in, Melissa prepared to end Izuku, but before she could get close, a large explosion erupted beside them. The impact managed to send everyone within the battlefield to the floor. Izuku's body was flung to the side before rolling to a stop. Pushing himself off the ground, Izuku turned his head to find All Might and AFO in a power struggle. The two locked hands and pushed against each other. I'm surprised, All Might. After everything, you just don't give up. All Might gave his signature smile. You may have beaten me before, but no matter how many times you beat me, I will always get back up. Pushing with all his power, All Might began to force AFO to his knees. Hitting the ground, AFO gritted his teeth. And no, this isn't possible. I'm supposed to be the strongest. I'm supposed to destroy this world. All Might then raised his fist and punched the villain in the back of the head. Not today, you lose all for one. But as blood ran the villain's nose, AFO smiled. Wrong, I will achieve my goals. Even if that means taking you down with me. All for One then activated one of his quirks. At first it seemed like it did nothing. All Might looked around and saw nothing had changed. A dud? However, that was far from the truth. Just offshore of California, a small submarine was heard underneath the ocean. No one knew about it, but it was sure as hell going to make an impression. Inside the vessel was quiet. Only a small person was sitting down with a strange device around their head. Whoever it was, they were crying, but their cries soon became worse when the device around their head began to beep. Soon a surge of energy coursed through their body. The girl let out an agonizing cry as something began to grow and glow on her head. The machine then began to spark as it signaled an overload of power. Then it happened. With her eyes now glowing white, the energy coming off the girl was expelled. The sub disintegrated and then the water, but the blast didn't stop. The explosion made it to the surface, then on land. People tried to shield themselves from it, but nothing worked. Men, women, and children, all gone in the blink of an eye, almost as if they never existed. Then the entire western seaboard of the United States was gone, but the explosion was spreading. Within a minute of the initial explosion, the blast had wiped Hawaii from the face of the earth and was rapidly approaching Japan. Back was Shirakumo. He got an alert from his phone. Pulling it out, his eyes widened when he noticed what it was. Still unable to walk, Shirakumo dragged his body towards Izuku. Reaching, he noticed how badly injured Izuku was. Hey kid, you have to get up. We have major trouble heading this way. Izuku looked at Shirakumo. What now? The US is gone. Whatever AFO did, it's heading this way. You have to go back and fix this, said Shirakumo. You have to. But before he could say anything else, Melissa came in and kicked the hero away. He won't be going anywhere, said Melissa. We are all going to die together. She then turned to Izuku. How does it feel, Izuku, to know how hopeless you are, how weak you are? Getting up, Izuku tried to punch Melissa, but she quickly dodged and appeared behind him. Thanks to your actions, your own selfish actions, the world is going to end. You could have changed the time for the better, but no, you just thought of yourself and saved poor little mommy. Well, look at where it's gotten you. I hope your mother has good seats. Just then the surge of energy AFO unleashed reached the main island of Japan. Right on time. Any last words before we all die? Izuku watched as the blast inched closer. Opening his mouth, Izuku was about to say something but stopped when a large cloud appeared around Melissa. Stupid hero! This trick won't work on me twice! Yelled Melissa as she moved her hands at super speed and blew the clouds away. But just as the clouds cleared and while Melissa was still a bit distracted, Shirakumo came flying down and landed on top of Melissa. This was your grand plan? Asked Melissa. Turning around rapidly, Melissa threw Shirakumo off of herself. Grabbing him out of the air with one hand, she looked at the hero. You were supposed to die ages ago, why don't I finish the job? Lifting her other hand, Melissa began to vibrate it. While looking Shirakumo in the eyes, she stabbed into his chest, destroying his heart. Feeling his arms and legs starting to go numb from the lack of blood, Shirakumo grabbed Melissa's neck and with all his might he turned it around. A loud crack was heard as Melissa's neck was snapped. Hitting the floor with a thud, Melissa was dead. Izuku couldn't believe it. Why, you killed her? I wish. Just then Shirakumo fell to the floor. Running over, Izuku caught him and gently put him down. There's still time, kid. You have to run. Izuku looked at Shirakumo. I can still save this world. I can still save you. But Shirakumo shook his head. There's no saving us, kid. If you really want to save this world, then make sure this world never happens. Only you have the power to do that. Melissa was the one making you slow. Now that she's gone, there should be enough juice for you. Reaching into his costume, Shirakumo pulled out a small disc that resembled the entrance exam ones. Give it to Aizawa and tell him I'm sorry. Izuku took the disc. I will, and I'm sorry too. Shirakumo smiled. Don't worry about that now, kid. Now go, run! With that, Shirakumo closed his eyes for the final time. Groaning in pain, Izuku got up just as the energy surge began to take over the battlefield. Looking behind him, Izuku saw as All Might stood over a defeated AFO. With nothing else to do, Izuku took off, but the wound on his side still hadn't healed yet. Starting off slowly, Izuku limped his way across the battlefield. As he did, the white light had taken Shirakumo. Soon the light engulfed All Might and All for One. As it did, Izuku swore he saw the faint smile on the number one hero's face. Pushing himself through the pain, and as the wound on his side bled, Izuku soon had green lightning jumping off of his body. His entire body was hurting, but he had to do this. The alternative was to let the white light engulf him. Gritting his teeth, Izuku pulled everything into him. Just then there was a loud boom as Izuku entered the Speed Force. Once again finding himself surrounded by stars and galaxies, Izuku thought of his mother. But as he did, he suddenly felt his body being pulled towards something. In a flash of white light, Izuku then found himself tumbling into the ground in front of a house. Izuku? Is that you? What are you wearing? Asked someone stepping out of the house. Izuku looked up to find his mother. Mom! Running over to her, Izuku wrapped his mother in a hug. The two hugged for a while before Inko walked her son in to talk. Sitting down at the kitchen table, Izuku pulled back his mask. Have you seen the news? It looks like the world is ending. Izuku nodded. It is, and it's all my fault. Inko tilted her head. What? What I'm going to say is going to sound crazy, but in another world I'm a hero in training. I was born quirkless, but thanks to a freak accident I was granted super speed. In my timeline you die and Dad is blamed for it. Years passed and I joined UA to try to prove Dad's innocence, but I just couldn't take it anymore. I needed to save you. And I did, but when I did, everything changed. All of this happened because I saved you. Now the only way to save everyone is to prevent this time from ever happening. For that to happen, you have to die. Izuku hung his head as tears ran down his face. I'll find a way to save everyone and you, I promise. Inko saw the sadness in Izuku's eyes. Reaching out, she lifted his head and seeing him in tears, she knew he'd gone through a lot. Izuku, you have to let me go. Izuku shook his head. And no, I can't. I won't. Yes, you can, and you will, it's okay. I am so proud of you, always have been, always will be. But you can't let me dictate the choices you make in your life. Now listen to me, Izuku, let me go. You can't trade the lives of billions of people for me. I won't let you do that. I love you more than anything in this world. That will never change, no matter if I'm dead or alive. Now go, save the world. Leaning in, Inko kissed Izuku on the forehead. I love you, Izuku. Wiping the tears away, Izuku stood up and pulled his mask back down. Inko stood up and with a proud smile on her face the two embraced. I'm so sorry, Mom. It's fine, Izuku. I'll rest easy knowing that I'm looking out for you from above. Now go make me proud, my son, and say hello to your father for me, will you? Said Inko as she broke the hug. Izuku nodded. I will, Mom. Goodbye. I love you. With green lightning jumping off his body, Izuku once again went into the Speed Force. This time he thought of himself, and when he wanted to stop Melissa from killing his mother. Suddenly running through the Speed Force, Izuku looked ahead of him to find himself, the past version of himself. Izuku! Stop! Yelled Izuku, chasing after his past self. Past Izuku looked back to find Izuku. Who the hell are you? Izuku then tried to reach out and stop his past self, but instead got an elbow to his nose. Get away! I have to save her. I have to save Mom. Izuku staggered back as blood ran down his nose. Shaking it off, Izuku once again chased after himself. If you do this, you'll break the world. Billions will die. I know how you feel, but Mom doesn't want this. She doesn't want to exchange herself for others. Past Izuku shook his head. You lie. Mom would want us to save her. I'm sorry, but I told Mom I'd save the world, and that's what I intend on doing. Even if that means taking you down. With his lightning jumping off him at a much crazier rate, Izuku slowly began to gain on his past self. Looking ahead, Izuku could see the city they lived in, then he saw his home. He needed to stop his past self before it was too late. With blood running down his cut and his broken nose, Izuku grunted as he pushed forward. Reaching out his hand, Izuku managed to touch his past self. No! Don't do this! I need! Cried out past Izuku. Forgive me! Just then Izuku jumped at himself and tackled him. Suddenly the green lightning that jumped off of each other combined, and with a loud crockum, the entire area was engulfed in a blinding white light. Inside the light, Izuku suddenly saw images pop into his mind. He could see the day his mother died, feel Melissa's hand pierce her heart, and feel the last thing Inko thought of before taking her final breath. Izuku cried as he felt the last thing she thought of was for her family. Mom, I just want you to know, me and Dad are going to be alright. So don't worry, I won't be alone. I have my dad, Bakugo, my friends at school, and especially May. Goodbye, Mom. But then something strange happened. As the images of his mother disappeared, new images began to play, ones of himself. However, something was wrong. It wasn't him per se, but other versions of himself. An image of himself with golden spiky hair appeared, another where he had a trident and a crown on his head, one where he had claws on each one of his hands, one where he had a green ring around his finger, one where he ran from zombies, one where he bit someone's head off while wearing a black suit, one where he wore a strange costume and swung through the city, and finally one where he wore a cape and fired laser beams from his eyes. What is this? Other versions of me? However, before Izuku could grasp the situation, a voice was heard echoing through the white light. Izuku! There's still time! You have to save them, save! The voice cut out before returning. It's coming! You have to be ready! But before the voice could say anything else, the voice fell silent. Still a bit confused, Izuku looked around for the person but found no one. That's when another blinding light washed over Izuku, forcing his eyes closed. Snapping his eyes open, Izuku felt the warm rays of the sun hit his face. Izuku was laying on the roof of the UA arena wearing his gym uniform. I'm back? He asked himself. Getting up, Izuku walked over to the edge and found that Midnight was announcing the next fighters. He then looked at the broadcast booth and found both present Mike and Aizawa. Then he looked at his classmates, but his eyes went to Bakugo, who was alive and currently hitting Kirishima on the head. Falling to his knees, Izuku let out a relieved sigh, but it was also a bittersweet moment. If everything was as it was before, that meant his mom was dead. There were just 2 more things to check. Raising his hand, Izuku looked at it. He was going to see if he had his speed. Taking a deep breath, Izuku began to move his hand. But much to his surprise and delight, green lightning sparked off it as it moved at super speeds. Izuku smiled as he now had his powers back. Now that I know I have my powers, I still have one more thing I need to check. Taking off with a loud boom, Izuku ran throughout the UA Stadium in search of May. At his speeds, Izuku quickly found her. May was surprised to say the least when a flash of green light stopped in front of her. Izuku? What happened? Weren't you just on the roof? Without saying a word, Izuku leaned in and kissed Mei on the lips. A few moments later, Izuku pulled away and waited for Mei's reaction. What the heck? Why did you do that for? And so suddenly? Couldn't you have done this somewhere more private? Izuku smiled. I'm back, Mei. I'm really back. Back? What are you talking about? I just talked to you on the roof a minute ago, said Mei, confused as to what he was talking about. As she thought about it, Mei put it together. Oh God, you did it, didn't you? Izuku nodded. Yeah, I did. But his face then turned to one of sadness when he thought back to what happened. Mei noticed that look and grabbed his hand. Tell me what happened. I'll tell you after the sports festival. Right now, I need to check something. I'll be right back, said Izuku as he turned to leave. Wait. What about the sports festival? Asked Mei. Izuku looked back. Right, sorry, but this is more important. Tell Aizawa I withdraw. I need to see if things are really back to how they should be. In a flash of green lightning, Izuku took off, leaving Mei in disbelief. Running throughout the city, Izuku had 2 stops he needed to go. Within seconds, Izuku stopped in front of a grave that had Inko's name on it. Falling to his knees, Izuku began to cry. After all he went through, there was still nothing he could have done to save her. If Izuku was to become the person he is now, the sad truth was that Inko, his mother, had to die. Come on, Izuku, you still have 1 stop to go. After paying his respects, Izuku took off once again. This time he stood in front of a prison gate. Going inside, the guards were checking him in when one of them noticed who he was. Izuku explained that the school had given him permission to leave and withdraw from the sports festival. After clearing the checkpoints, Izuku was taken to the visitors section where he sat down in front of the glass. A few minutes later, the door on the other side of the glass opened up. I already told you, no one should be visiting me right now. It's not my son, it has to be a stranger. I have to go back, my son is competing right now, said Hisashi as he was being brought in. But as he turned, his eyes widened when he saw Izuku sitting down. Oh. Taking a seat, Hisashi grabbed the phone. What the hell are you doing here, Izuku? Shouldn't you be at the sports festival? Izuku nodded. Yeah, well, I decided to come here. There's something I need to tell you. Hisashi was surprised. What could be so important that you left the school? I mean, come on, I know I told you to get in trouble, but I didn't mean this. I met Mom, said Izuku. Hisashi stopped talking. What? I met Mom. In person, alive and well, said Izuku. That's not possible, Izuku. Your mom is dead, said Hisashi. Izuku then interrupted. I did it, Dad. That thing you told me not to do, I did it. Hisashi couldn't believe it. Izuku, then does that mean? Izuku shook his head. No, she's still gone. I don't understand. If you changed the past, why hasn't the future changed? Asked Hisashi. Because I messed everything up, Dad. I wanted to save Mom so bad that I would do whatever it took. But in order for that to happen, countless people had to die, explained Izuku as tears ran down his face. I tried, Dad, I really did. I tried to find a way to save her and everyone, but I couldn't. I just wasn't fast enough to do it. So, I had to set things right. I had to let Mom die, and for that I am sorry. Hisashi looked through the glass as his son cried. Reaching out, he touched the glass separating the two. Izuku. Hisashi felt powerless. His son was hurting right in front of him, but he couldn't even comfort him properly. Hisashi was silent as Izuku let everything go. By the time Izuku calmed down, he had already exceeded his visiting time for the day. Promising he'd come back, Izuku left the prison, but instead of running, he walked. Chapter 13. There are always consequences. Izuku bounced his leg in super speed as he sat in a chair, but this was no ordinary chair. This chair was sitting right in front of Nisa's desk. Currently, Izuku was sitting in Nisa's office with Aizawa and All Might beside him. So, how are you guys this fine morning? Asked Izuku. Nisa gave a small smile. We are doing just fine, Midoriya. The sports festival was fun, wasn't it? Everyone enjoyed themselves, said Izuku. Yes, it was, said Nizu, still with that smile on his face. You know why you're here, right, Midoriya? Izuku thought about it. Not a clue. Aizawa sighed. Yes, you do, now stop acting dumb. Why did you withdraw from the festival? I had something to do, explained Izuku. You had something to do? This thing you had to do, did it warrant the use of your quirk? Asked Nizu. Izuku nodded. Yes. So let me get this straight, you illegally used your quirk, left school grounds, and won't tell us why you did it. That's cause for suspension Midoriya, even expulsion, explained Nizu. So unless you want to stay in this school, I suggest you tell us why, said All Might. Izuku sighed. You won't believe me even if I told you. Try us, said Aizawa. All right then, don't say I didn't warn you. Izuku then began to explain it all. He talked about his adventure in another timeline, how he went back to save his mom but ended up ruining everything. He even talked about how he stopped his past self, and that somehow fixed the timeline. Furthermore, he talked about meeting a certain hero but conveniently left out the name. After all that, the two heroes looked at each other in disbelief. You expect us to believe you time traveled? Asked All Might. Believe me if you want, it really doesn't matter. What's done is done, so what's my punishment going to be? Asked Izuku, sitting back on the chair. Nizu jumped out of his seat and walked around his desk. We won't expel you, but instead you will be helping around UA after school until the start of your internships. Internships? Oh right, I remember something about that. Alright, fine, said Izuku. Just so you know, I don't regret leaving the sports festival. What I did before is another question. Aizawa looked at Izuku and saw a hint of sadness behind a sense of guilt. What did he do before? The meeting ended and Izuku was allowed to leave. The two heroes stayed behind and talked about other unrelated stuff. Once done, Aizawa walked out of the office. As he walked into the teacher's lounge, he suddenly felt a gust of wind pass by him. Looking behind him, Aizawa didn't see anything. Strange. He then looked at his desk only to find Izuku sitting in his chair. Took you long enough, I was getting bored. Aizawa sighed. I hate speedsters. What are you doing here, Midoriya? You're supposed to be in class right now. Izuku spun around in the chair. I know, but there's something I need to talk to you about. Can it wait until after school? I'm kind of busy right now, said Aizawa. And get out of my chair. Quickly getting off, Izuku now stood beside the hero's desk. It's kind of important. Sitting down, Aizawa pulled out some papers. Look, whatever it is, come back after school. I have to sort through all of these offers. That's when Izuku interrupted. Does Shirakumo ring any bells? Aizawa stopped dead in his tracks. How do you know that name? You remember what I said in that meeting just now, right? That I did something before that I kind of regretted. Well, I'm going to tell you what I did. You may not believe me, but know that what I did was what I thought, at the time, to be the right thing, said Izuku. Aizawa turned to his student. Let's hear it. Izuku then got to work explaining everything to Aizawa. By the end of it, the pro hero simply looked at his student with sorrow. And that's everything. I changed the past by saving my mom, but in doing that I disrupted the timeline so much that I destroyed the world. Aizawa placed a hand on Izuku. Don't beat yourself too much. If I had the powers you had, I probably would have done the same. And to be honest, I wouldn't have changed things back. There's just some things I don't get. If I really did make Melissa a living paradox, does that mean she'll come back? Asked Izuku. Aizawa shrugged. Honestly, I don't know. If what she said was true, then yes. She'll be back. Izuku looked at his teacher. And I'll be ready for her. Another thing, my memories are all different. I can remember my life before I changed the time. I can remember the time I spent with my mom. I remember dating Uraraka in that world. I shouldn't be able to remember. Maybe the timeline is still messed up? That, or it seems the timeline gave you a reward, said Aizawa. Take what you learned and keep moving forward. Shirakumo would want that. Izuku nodded. Yeah, I'll do that. But I also think you can do with forgiving yourself for Shirakumo's death. Getting up, Izuku reached into his pocket and pulled out a small disc and placed it on Aizawa's desk. Aizawa raised an eyebrow. An entrance exam disc? Why do you have that? Tapping it, Izuku activated the disc and out appeared a holographic image of Shirakumo. Hey Shota! Miss me! I bet you did! Aizawa's eyes widened when he saw his old friend's face once again. Man, you must be either grilling the kid or telling him to move on. That's so like you, Shota. Shirakumo's expression then turned serious. Don't blame the kid too much, though. If I had his speed, I would have done the same. You see, in my world, you die while saving me from some villains. That day keeps playing over and over in my mind. But if the kid goes through with it, this world won't even exist, and that's okay too. That just means things went how they were supposed to. The kid told me, well, I figured it out actually. Your version of me must have died, and I guess you blame yourself for me/his death. Well, I'm here to tell you don't. If I died, it's probably because I rushed into a fight without thinking. Something you told me multiple times not to do. I died because I chose wrong, not because you couldn't or didn't make it. So stop it, you hear me, stop it. Anyway, I should go. An old friend told me I should go help the kid before I regret it. You know, he kind of reminds me of you in a way. Well, I guess I'll see you later, Shota. Take care now. Giving a bright smile, Shirakumo slowly faded away as the image disappeared. Aizawa stood up and grabbed the small disc, holding it in his hand. Tears suddenly began to fall on it. Turning, Aizawa looked at Izuku with tears in his eyes. Thank you for this. Truly, thank you. You should go to class now. We both know how midnight gets when you're late. Izuku nodded. I'll see you in homeroom, Aizawa. With that, Izuku was just about to walk out of the door when Aizawa stopped him. Wait, I forgot to tell you. Your father's new trial, it's set to start in 2 weeks. You'll be in your internship, but you should be able to be there, explained Aizawa. Izuku's eyes widened. Thanks. Walking to class, Izuku could hardly contain himself. This was it. His father was finally going to get out of jail. He could be with his dad once again. Just hold on for a bit longer, Dad. However, right now Izuku was happy. It was after school that had him worried. He still had to explain everything he did to Mei. Later that day, Izuku stood outside UA's gates waiting for Mei. When it was apparent that she wasn't coming out, Izuku went in to find her. Going towards the support department, Izuku found her still working on something. Come on, I just need to align the compound and… Just then a puff of black smoke rose up, completely covering Mei in it. Coughing, Mei fanned the smoke away. Damn it, another failure. What are you working on? Asked Izuku, standing next to her. Startled, Mei jumped. Izuku! When the heck did you get here? Mei then looked around to find the lab empty. Where did everyone go? Mei, class ended 30 minutes ago. Your teacher is gone and so is most of the school, explained Izuku. Oh, so that's why things got quiet. Guess I zoned out for a second and lost myself in my work, said Mei, wiping the black smudges off of her face. You think? Come on, let's go, or do you not want to hear what I did? Said Izuku. Mei nodded. I do. Hold on, I'll clean up real quick and then we can… But before Mei could say go, a flash of green ran around the lab. Go. Looking down on her desk, she found it clean. She then looked at Izuku, who dusted off his hands. Never mind, let's go. The two talked about the sports festival on the way to the beach. Izuku was a bit disappointed to find out that Mei had withdrawn as well, but not before showing off her babies. Still, Izuku was happy that Mei enjoyed her time. Making it down to the beach, the two entered the hut. Izuku wanted to relax for a bit, but Mei took a seat on an old couch they found. Sit, she ordered. Izuku sighed. Fine. Sitting down, Mei looked at Izuku with determined eyes. So, go ahead. What did you do? Izuku turned to Mei. Well, for starters, I time traveled. Mei's eyes widened. Really? So the papers were right. You must have opened a wormhole. Oh, but the energy needed to open a portal would have been greater than the energy given off by the sun. It would have to be black hole energy level, if not greater. Wait, when you run, your body gives off some sort of energy. Maybe it has something to do with that. But as Mei was rambling, Izuku hung his head. I went back to save my mom. Mei stopped. What? I saved Mom from Melissa, but in doing so I completely changed the timeline. And not in a good way. I was stuck in that world for a while until I got my powers again. But during that time I lived another life. Mom was alive, but Dad and Bakugo were dead. You and I weren't as close, and apparently me and Uraraka got together. Mei couldn't believe what she was hearing, but it was that last part that made her heart ache the most. Izuku. Izuku looked at his hands. Then a villain showed up and destroyed the world, but before he could, Melissa was killed. Just as the world was ending, I ran back to when I decided to stop Melissa. I had to let my mom die, in order to set things right. What kind of a son am I that I let her die? I know she told me to do it, but still. I have all this speed, all this power, but what good is it if I can't save the ones I care about? I wish I never got these powers, they're nothing but a curse. Mei reached out and grabbed Izuku's head, pulling him. She brought him to her chest. Izuku, you have done nothing but good with those powers. You saved the class, saved All Might, and you even saved me. So don't you dare say that your speed is a curse. You're wrong, it's a blessing. We don't get to choose the quirks we were born with, but your powers chose you. So stop thinking that way, I won't let you have that mentality. Izuku hugged Mei back. Okay. Good, now I want you to promise me something. Izuku broke the hug and looked at Mei. No matter what happens from now on, no matter who it happens to, promise me that you will never change the past again. Mei, I don't think. But before Izuku finished that sentence, Mei grabbed his face. Promise me, said Mei, not as a demand but as a genuine request. Izuku looked into Mei's eyes and nodded. Okay, I promise you. Good. Good, said Mei, as she leaned back on the sofa. Izuku followed and then the two relaxed. Traveling through time was pretty fun though. I even saw different versions of myself. Different universes? Asked Mei curiously. I wonder what makes them different from this one. So can I run some tests on you? Izuku sighed. Fine, just don't hurt me please. Mei smiled. I'll try not to. A few days later. It was now Monday and Izuku was back in class. After telling Bakugo what he did and being chewed out for it, Izuku took some time to think back. But one thing, or rather person, that kept popping into his mind was Melissa. There was still a chance she would come back, and if she did, her wrath would be unleashed. Hey Midoriya, you alright? Asked someone, tapping him on the shoulder. Izuku turned to find Uraraka. Huh, oh yeah, just tired, that's all. What happened again? Aizawa is about to announce how many internship offers we got, said Uraraka. I sure hope I did good. I'm sure you'll be fine, myself on the other hand. I'm not too sure how many I'll get, said Izuku. Right, you left early? Well, I'm sure you'll be fine, said Uraraka with a bright smile. Izuku saw her smile, which reminded him of his other life, one where he was with Uraraka. What the hell, I've never looked at Uraraka like that before. Must be the other me's memories, I have to stop myself. I already have Mei. Just then Aizawa walked into the class. Alright, everyone settle down. As many of you know, the sports festival wasn't just for fun. For those in the hero course, this was a time to show off. Why? Because of internships. Based on how well you did, each of you will be receiving offers from agencies around Japan. These are just to name a few. Clicking a button, the screen behind Aizawa showed each student's name and a number beside them. The number means how many internship offers you've received. You'll have 2 weeks to decide which offer you accept. However, in the meantime, you have more pressing matters to attend to. Izuku looked at his name and saw that he had 108 offers. Not bad, but much less compared to Bakugo's 894 or Todoroki's 962. Not bad, more than I thought I'd get. So what are these pressing matters Aizawa is talking about? You all have to come up with a hero name, said Midnight, walking into the room wearing her hero costume. The boys in the class all got excited as she walked into class. The girls, on the other hand, looked at her with jealousy and hatred. Midnight here will be handling and reviewing the names you pick out, explained Aizawa. Midnight nodded. Just remember, you're most likely stuck with that name, so choose wisely. Now, whiteboards are making their way around. Take one and write down the hero name you want. Once you're done, come to the front and show us. Izuku grabbed a whiteboard and looked at it. I wonder what my hero name should be. The Emerald Speedster? No, that's too lame. I want something that would make me stand out. Izuku sat in his chair thinking about what hero name he wanted as his classmates went up one by one to present. Bakugo chose the name Nitro. An. Yes, I know he has an official hero name, but I think it sucks, so I'm going with this one. Uraraka came up with Uravity, which Izuku thought was fitting. It was now down to the two students, Izuku and Todoroki, still needed to present. Alright, let's see, Midoriya, come up and show us what you got, said Midnight. Izuku looked down at the whiteboard to find it still blank. He needed to come up with something fast. Lucky for him, he was fast. Scribbling down a name, Izuku got up and walked towards the front. Turning his board around, Izuku showed the class his hero name. You know what, he may be right, said Kirishima. Yeah, after what we saw at the USJ, I believe it, said Mina. Pretty bold if you asked me, said Kaminari. Izuku smiled. Show me someone else who can do what I do and I'll drop the name. Until then my hero name will be the Green Flash, the fastest man alive. Drop the green in the name. The Green Flash just sounds like a mouthful, suggested Midnight. Or you could go with the Green Blur. It's up to you. Izuku thought about it. The Flash sounds good. I'll go with that one. Midnight clapped her hands. Excellent! Now Todoroki, you're up next. The hero watched as Todoroki walked up and showed his board, which just had his name on it. Your name, huh? Well, I guess it's better than nothing. If you change your mind, let us know. Alright, now that everyone has gone, Aizawa will take over again. Bye. With that, the hero walked out of the class, but not before blowing a kiss. Now that you have your hero names, all of you need to start taking this seriously. Your lives are going to change, get used to it. In time we will teach you how to act, fight, and carry yourselves like true heroes. For now, you will be all interning with a hero. Take a look at your offers and pick one. You have until Wednesday, and starting that Friday you go on a week-long study internship. Handing out a list of their offers, Izuku looked through the pages and found one name that popped out. Huh! I didn't know he had his own agency. I'll keep that place in mind. School was now over and Izuku stood outside the gates to wait for Mei. Izuku expected her to be late, but much to his surprise she actually didn't take long. Who are you? Asked Izuku. Mei looked at him with a confused look. Huh? What are you talking about? The Mei I know is never this early, so you're clearly a doppelganger, teased Izuku. Mei pouted slightly. Hey! I can be on time sometimes. Besides, the teacher kicked me out. Izuku smiled. And there it is. Well, as long as you're here it's fine. Come on, let's go. As the two got on a train they noticed Ida, the boy from Class B. Izuku's eyes widened when he thought back to what he told him. Maybe I should go say something to him. I don't like how we parted ways. But before he could take a step forward, Mei grabbed his jacket. Izuku, look! Turning, Mei was looking at a TV that was hanging on the wall. That's when a reporter appeared. News reports are coming out that the hero Ingenium has been brutally beaten yesterday. Witnesses say that an unknown villain attacked the hero without warning and used a sword to sever his spinal cord. Doctors are not sure if he will ever walk again. Izuku's eyes widened. That's Ida's brother. Who the heck could have done that to him? Ingenium is one of the fastest heroes out there. He should have been able to dodge or at least leave. Who the hell could have done that? I don't know, but whoever they are, I hope the heroes catch him soon, said Mei. Yesterday night. Ingenium walked down the streets of a busy road. He was on patrol and was looking out for any criminal activity. That's when he got a phone call. Oh, it's Ida. I wonder how he's doing. Picking up the phone, Ingenium walked into an alley to get some privacy. Tenya! How are you? I saw your matches at the sports festival. Shame, but you'll get them next year. On the other side of the line, Ida sighed. I'm doing well, brother, and yes, it is a shame. But as Grandma always said, it's not a race but a marathon. I'll win next year, just you wait. That's what I like to hear. So, what's up? You don't usually call, said Ingenium, curious. Well, the thing is, I sort of said some mean things to someone in an effort to make them show their true colors. But in the end it didn't work, and after thinking about it for a while, I felt bad. I want to apologize, but I feel like he'll just ignore me. What should I do? Asked Ida. Ingenium leaned up against the wall. Well, if you truly feel bad, then you'll find a way to apologize. You can't take back what you said, but you can fix it further. Just talk to him, and if you are really sorry, then he'll listen. Ida thought about it. I'll do that, thank you, brother. I needed this. Ingenium smiled. Anytime, now get to bed and it's getting late. It's a school day tomorrow. Ida nodded. Right, be safe out there. Bye. With that, Ingenium hung up the call. With his phone in his pocket, Ingenium smiled. Oh, that brother of mine. He can be a real handful sometimes. However, that's when it happened. Out of the corner of his eye, Ingenium spotted something shiny headed towards him. Almost as if it was instinct, Ingenium leaned back and dodged throwing stars. What the hell? Looks like the rumors about you are true. You really are fast, said a voice above on the roof. Dropping down, the mystery person pulled out a sword from his back. Ingenium's eyes widened. That weapon, that voice, it's you, isn't it? You're the hero killer, Stain. Stepping into the light, a thin man with messy long hair and small red eyes. He wore a bodysuit that was lined with pieces of armor and an old ragged bandana mask. For his weapon, the hero killer had 2 swords on his back and several smaller knives on his side. That's right, hero, and guess what? I'm on a mission to exterminate the fake heroes in this world. Unfortunately for you, that also includes you. Without warning, Stain jumped at Ingenium, but just as the blade was supposed to touch his neck, Ingenium dodged out of the way. Hey, you're pretty fast, but you won't be able to touch me at your speed. We'll just see about that. Frustrated, Stain quickly jumped at Ingenium once again, but it was the same. Slash after slash failed to cut the hero. Soon, however, Ingenium found his back hitting the wall. Damn it! Seeing that his prey was cornered, Stain grabbed a knife from his back and plugged it down. With the help of his engines, Ingenium managed to stop the knife, but the two were now in a power struggle. Ingenium grunted as he fought like hell to keep the knife from piercing him. Looking up, he was taken aback when Stain had a smile on his face. This is it, hero, this is where you die. Pushing hard, the knife slowly began to inch its way towards the hero. But just as it was about to pierce his hero's suit, something came running by them. The two were thrown to the side. As a result, Stain slammed against the wall, while Ingenium hit the floor. Pushing himself off the floor, Ingenium looked around. What the hell was that? Another villain? But before he could get an answer, the sound of flesh being pierced was heard. Feeling something go through his back and out his front, Ingenium looked down to find the tip of Stain's sword coming out of him. Always look behind you, said Stain, standing behind the hero. Pulling out his sword, Ingenium fell forward onto his knees before falling face first onto the floor. Now, are you going to show yourself? I know you're out there. Just then another flash of light smashed into Stain. The villain smashed up against the wall, but before he could fall, something ran up to him and grabbed him by the neck. Stain tried to lift his sword, but whoever it was grabbed his wrists and broke them. The villain screamed out in pain, but his cries were cut short when a mouth covered his mouth. "SHHHH, you make so much noise," said the person, as their face was masked by the darkness. "You are so much like the others. So angry, so bloodthirsty, so boring. Time and again you do this, doesn't it ever get tiring?" asked the mystery person. Stain said something, but it was muffled thanks to the person's hand. "Right, I forgot, you can't talk right now. Well, let me answer that for you. It does get boring, it did for the others, it will for you, and it did for me. Here, I'll set you free." Pulling a sword from behind his back, the mystery person stabbed into Stain's stomach. Stain's eyes widened when he felt the metal pierce his flesh. Finally removing their hand, the mystery person showed that Stain was now pinned to the wall. "I'll kill you for this." No, you won't, rather you can't." "Why?" asked the person. "Because after all the heroes you've taken down, you can never kill yourself." Stepping towards the light, Stain saw someone wearing a mask that covered their face. Stunned, Stain recognized it. That's my mask, I used it earlier in my career." "How did you get that?" The person laughed behind the mask. "Come now, you know I can't tell you that. But what I can say is that we share the same goal. To rid the world of the fake heroes, but in order to do that, one man has to die in order to make our dream come true. Izuku Midoriya must die." In a flash of yellow light, the mystery person disappeared and took Stain with them. "Soon, this world too will know and feel my work. This world will be cleansed in the blood of the fake heroes. But not before I make Izuku Midoriya suffer just as I have. For I am the fastest killer alive." Chapter 14, Punishment. May was frantically finishing something up on her workbench. Come on. I need to get this done before they leave." With several batches of chemicals around her, some boiling, May had to get this right. This was already her 5th time trying this, and the past experiments led to some interesting outcomes. With the batch of chemicals now done, May grabbed the container and walked over to another station. This one had Izuku's suit, carefully dripping his hero costume into the solution, and after a minute Mei lifted the costume out. And much to her pleasure it had the desired effect. Yes! It worked! Now instead of the normal-sized costume, it turned into a much, much smaller version of it. Now for the hard part. Folding it. Placing it down on the table, Mei used her quirk and zoomed in on the suit. Using a pair of tweezers she began to fold it. Once done she used the same tweezers Mei brought them over and placed it inside of something small. With a click Mei was officially done. Pulling up her goggles she turned to look at the clock. 12:50 p.m. Her eyes widened. Crap! I have to get this to Izuku now. Grabbing the object, Mei quickly ran out of the lab and down the halls of UA. With Izuku, he was currently standing outside of UA waiting to get on a bus that would take him and his class to the train station. Today was officially the first day of hero internships. Izuku looked around and found that all of his classmates had suitcases with numbers on them. These suitcases had their hero costumes, and Izuku didn't have one. Instead, he had a duffel bag with some clothes in it. Is she almost here? Asked Aizawa, walking up to Izuku. I have no idea, she could be asleep for all I know, explained Izuku. Mei has a tendency to sleep in random places. Want me to go find her? But just as Aizawa was going to answer, Mei came running out the main building's doors. Finally! What took you so long? Asked Izuku as Mei caught her breath. After taking some deep breaths, Mei stood up straight. I couldn't get the solution right. The damn thing kept blowing up on me, and then when it didn't, the suit would stretch or lose durability. Man, I need to start running more. But you finished it right? Asked Aizawa. Mei nodded. Yup. Sure did. Reaching into her pocket, Mei pulled out a green ring. Tada! Aizawa blinked a couple of times. That's it. That tiny ring has Midoriya's hero costume. Sure does. After making some slight upgrades, I doused the suit into a solution that caused it to shrink. Once it was at the right size, I made a special ring that would eject the suit within, explained Mei. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but won't his costume still be small when it pops out? Asked Aizawa. Mei shook her head. Nope. Thermal expansion. All Izuku has to do is activate his speed and it should shoot out. Izuku took the ring and looked at it. Impressive, but wait. You never tested this, right? Mei looked away. Of course I tested it, once. And? What were the results? Asked Aizawa. Mei began to sweat a bit. The test dummy was crushed. Izuku looked at Mei. But it was only one test and way before I made this one. That shouldn't happen, I hope. Izuku smiled as he threw the ring into the air and caught it. I'll just have to trust you. Thanks, Mei, I owe you one. This is a lot better than carrying around a suitcase. So how do I get it back into the ring? Mei then pulled out a spray can and tossed it to Izuku. Use that, it's the solution I used. As for getting the suit in the ring, use small tweezers. I can already tell that it is going to be difficult to get in, said Izuku, slipping on the ring into his right middle finger. When I get back, we'll work on it together. Mei nodded. Can't wait. I can try to use some of my babies this time around. Are you two done? 'Cause we really have to get going, said Aizawa halfway on the bus. You should get going, said Mei. Make sure to call me on the day, alright? Yeah, I will. I'll need you there, said Izuku. In 3 days' time, Izuku's dad was set to have his court date on whether or not he would be a free man once again. Mei saw that worried look on Izuku's face. Reaching out, she grabbed his hand. It's going to be fine, Izuku. Once he's out, you'll be a family again. For now, go, the class is waiting on you. Izuku squeezed her hand gently. Thanks, Mei, what would I do without you? The two looked at each other, and slowly began to lean in towards each other. But just before their lips could meet, Aizawa yelled from the bus. Midoriya! Get your ass into this bus now, or we are leaving you here. Izuku flinched and then sighed. Right, I'm coming. I'd better get going. Mei pulled back her hands. I'll see you soon. With that, Izuku quickly got onto the bus and sat down next to Bakugo, who was clearly teasing him, and so were the other guys on the bus. But one person didn't like it. She didn't like seeing Izuku all lovey-dovey with someone else. Clenching her fist, Uraraka watched as Izuku laughed and seemed happy. What the hell is wrong with me? He already has someone, but why can't I just let him go? After a 30-minute bus ride, the class got off and were currently waiting for their respective trains to arrive. Alright class, listen up. I want you all to be on your best behavior. Listen to the heroes, and if I get any complaints you won't hear the end of it from me. The class all nodded as they felt Aizawa's menacing aura. Good, you're free to talk amongst yourselves until your train arrives. Izuku found a bench and went to sit down. So are you ready for this? Asked Bakugo, walking up to him. Sure am, said Izuku. How sure are you? I mean, you picked the strictest hero I know. If you happen to breathe wrong, he'll tell you something, said Bakugo. Trust me, I'm well aware. But they offered and he is one of the best hand-to-hand fighters out there. And that's something I need to improve on. Yeah, I got the speed, but I have no idea how to fight. That was made clear when I was fighting Melissa in the other timeline. Besides, there's still a chance she comes back. I need to be ready for if and when that happens. I won't repeat the same mistakes as before, said Izuku, looking at the ring. Bakugo saw Izuku's expression and couldn't help but think back to when they were kids. To the day after Izuku lost his mother, Bakugo would never forget the look of emptiness on his friend's face. Hey, if she does come back, you'll beat her again. You did it once, you will do it again. That, or I will. I still have to get my pay back for what she did to you and Auntie Inko. Izuku chuckled. Thanks, Kaken, it's good to know you have my back. Always have, always will. Just then a train pulled up to the station. That's my ride, I'll see you on that day. Izuku nodded. Yeah. Just try not to break anything, or anyone. Bakugo smirked. MHA. If I do break someone, that just means that they were weak. Izuku watched as one by one his class got onto their trains and left. And now it was down to only him. Not even Aizawa was there. So, I guess this is my first test. I actually have to find his place. Shouldn't be too difficult. With sparks jumping off his body, Izuku quickly took off. Leaving the train station, he made a beeline towards UA. Running past the censors and teachers, Izuku made it into Nisa's office and stopped in front of a filing cabinet. Quickly going through every single drawer, Izuku finally found what he was looking for. Got you. Pulling out a file, Izuku saw that it had classified stamped in red. Smart, you have the only copy in paper form. You can hack that. Reading through the file in seconds, Izuku now knew where to go. Really? Alright, let's see if this is accurate. Putting everything back the way it was, Izuku took off once again. This time, however, he stopped in front of an old rundown warehouse. This can't be the right place, could it? Asked Izuku as he looked at the shape this place was in. Walking up to the door, Izuku pushed it open only to have it creak with a high-pitched sound. Hello? Are you here? No response. Why is it so dark in here? Are you scared of the sun or something? Or maybe you're a vampire? I'm going with the vampire. Explains why you're always tired during school. Now standing just out the reach of the sun coming in from the door, a voice was heard in the darkness. I'm not a vampire. I just work better in the dark. Villains can't see me coming. Izuku looked around for the person but couldn't find them. You know, you remind me of a hero in a comic book. Dresses all in black, like you, only works at night, like you, and has some serious trust issues. I'm not Batman, said a voice behind Izuku. Quickly turning around, Izuku found a tall person towering over him. Well, you sure do act like him. That's when the lights suddenly turned on, revealing that it was Aizawa. Took you long enough to find this place. And here I thought you'd faster. Normally I would, but I had to look up this place. I didn't even know you had a hero agency, explained Izuku. Technically I don't, at least for everyone not a hero I don't. But if you ask around and the right heroes, you'll eventually find this place. If you need someone to stake out a place for weeks at a time, I'm the man for that. Plus, the others think I'm the best hand-to-hand fighter hero out there. Are you? Asked Izuku. Aizawa put some eye drops in his eyes. You'll just have to wait and find out. Now let's get started. First go unpack. There's a bed on the second floor. Once you're done, come back down and meet me in the training room. I'll need to see how much you know first if I'm going to teach you. Izuku nodded and went upstairs to put down his duffel bag. Throwing it onto the bed, Izuku also put his phone in there for safekeeping. Once done, Izuku walked back down and went towards the training room. There he found weights, a punching bag, an actual boxing ring, several bench press machines, and a treadmill. So this is where Eraserhead works out. Not bad, you got the basics down. Basics, yes, but it's just that, basic. The best way to train is to get out in the field, said Aizawa. But we'll get to that soon enough. Now, you ready? Izuku nodded. Yes. Good. Aizawa then got into a fighting stance. Come at me, but don't use your speed. You're fast, but you fight like an amateur and your movements are too linear. Izuku laughed. Shirakumo said the same thing to me, before I sent him flying into a monitor. Well, he was right. Now come on, fight me but don't use your speed. Izuku got into a sloppy fighting stance and charged Aizawa. Izuku didn't stand a chance by the end of their first sparring match. The speedster was on his back looking at the ceiling. That was sloppy, kid, said Aizawa, standing over him. Come on, get up, we aren't done yet. Getting up, Izuku cracked his neck. Ow, that hurt. Aizawa scoffed. Just so you know, that was me holding back. Izuku's eyes widened. You and Shirakumo were a lot alike. Alright, what did I do wrong? For starters, your footing is all wrong. You need a solid foundation if you want to punch hard. And that's the next problem, you suck at throwing a punch. Copy me, arms up, one leg forward and extend your arms straight. Do this until it feels natural. Once it does, we'll move on to other stuff, instructed Aizawa. Izuku nodded. Right. Training went on for the rest of the day. It was now night time and Izuku sat down on the table devouring his dinner, which consisted of hamburgers and fries. How did I do for the first day? Asked Izuku as he stuffed his face with food. Aizawa sighed. At first you were terrible. I'd never seen anyone as bad as you. But like your power, you learn fast. Honestly, you are above average when it comes to fighting technique already. Izuku smiled. Thanks. Aizawa stood up. But you still have much to learn. We'll do the same thing tomorrow, then I'll take you out for some real-life experience. You mean patrol? Awesome. Can't wait then. Oh wait, but the day after tomorrow is… I can't, said Izuku, much to Aizawa's surprise. That's when the decision on Dad's case is going to be. Right, then it seems you'll have to work twice as hard tomorrow, said Aizawa. In the meantime, get some rest, you've got a rough few days coming up. Day 2. It was 7 a.m. when Izuku got up. Walking down to the first floor, he found Aizawa staring at the TV. Last night 15 heroes were killed. All were pronounced dead on the scene and each had a USB drive on them. The heroes are still investigating who exactly did this, and what exactly was on those drives. No witnesses were present, but people did report a streak of light flying past them. More on this story coming up on the morning news. Aizawa narrowed his eyes. A streak of light, that's almost like… me, said Izuku standing behind Aizawa. Turning around, Aizawa looked at Izuku. It couldn't have been you, the sensors would have captured you leaving last night. But still, could this be the work of the hero killer? Everything adds up, but still 15 heroes die in one night. He usually takes down 1, 2 at the best. You don't think it's… But Izuku shook his head. No, it's not Melissa. She would have come straight at me. This is someone else. Could be, but stay alert. If she does show up, deal with her quickly, instructed Aizawa. Izuku nodded as green lightning jumped off of his body. Quickly, I can do. Good, now let's start training again. With that, Izuku and Aizawa went back to it. Since Izuku learned so quickly, Aizawa was starting to move on to more advanced stuff, like how to perform jump kicks or trap and lock your opponents. By the end of the day, Izuku was sparring with Aizawa. No one would believe that Izuku didn't know a lick of fighting technique just 2 days ago. Good, you've improved so much in these last 2 days. And all this was without your speed. Combine them together, and there would be no one on this earth that could stop you, said Aizawa. Izuku sat on the floor. Man, I can't wait to go on patrol. Well, you are going to have to. Remember, tomorrow is the big day. Aizawa tossed a water bottle to Izuku, which he caught. Izuku looked at the water. Yeah, tomorrow I finally get to see if my dad walks free. That night Izuku had taken a shower and was supposed to be asleep, but his mind wouldn't let him. Laying on the bed, Izuku found himself thinking about his dad. Just then his phone began to ring. Looking at who it was, he smiled and picked it up. Hey May. Izuku, figured you'd be still awake, answered May. Could say the same thing about you. Got another baby you are working on. asked Izuku. Yup. This baby is going to help people with ice quirks increase their power. It's essentially an ice gun, but if they channel their power through it, the output will be increased, said Mei with enthusiasm. Izuku hummed. That could work for people with low-ranked ice quirks. Maybe you could even make one for fire quirks too. Mei gasped. I didn't think of that. If I just change out the quirk amplifier, then it should work. Now I have another baby to work on. Glad I can help, said Izuku, laughing slightly. That's when Mei noticed. Hey Izuku, it's going to be fine. Izuku lost his smile. How can you be so sure? What if they don't let him out? What if this is the last chance he'll get? Then you'll find another way to help him, said Mei. Izuku sighed. But what if I can't? Do you know how many times I've thought about breaking my dad out of prison? It'd be so easy too. I could get him out before anyone has time to blink. That would make you a wanted man. Yes, the heroes probably won't be able to catch you, but do you honestly believe that's what your dad would want? Izuku stayed silent. Didn't think so. Just please don't give up hope. Okay, Mei, I won't, answered Izuku. Good, now get some rest and I'll see you tomorrow morning. That's when Mei heard Izuku chuckle. What's so funny? I should be the one telling you to rest up. We both know you end up sleeping late or not at all sometimes, said Izuku. But thanks, Mei, I needed this. Mei looked at her baby. I really didn't do anything, but you're welcome either way. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you check to see if there's another? But before Izuku finished that sentence, he stopped. No, it's nothing, forget I said anything. Good night, Mei. On the other side of the line, Mei raised an eyebrow. Good night, Izuku, I'll see you soon. With that, Izuku hung up the call, leaving Mei to think about what he was going to ask. Morning, courthouse. Izuku stood in the halls of the courtroom pacing back and forth. Hey kid, stop, you're making me nervous just looking at you, said Aizawa, leaning up against the wall. Stopping, Izuku looked at Aizawa. Sorry, it's just that. That's when Izuku felt something grab his hand. Looking to his side, he found Mei. Izuku, look at me, breathe okay. Take nice deep breaths and calm down. Following her instructions, Izuku tried to calm down but just simply couldn't. Sorry, I can't, I'm just too nervous. However, that's when someone came in and smacked Izuku over the head. Hey, you damn nerd! Relax. Pacing like this isn't going to help you. Turning around, he found Bakugo. I get that this is a big moment, but you need to calm down. Taking a deep breath, Izuku exhaled. Right, you're right. This isn't helping anyone. I need to stay focused on what's important. Just then the doors of the courtroom opened up and out walked a police officer. Those who are attending, please make your way inside. The hearing will start in 5 minutes. Walking into the courtroom, Izuku sat in the front row. Mei sat to his side, with Aizawa and Bakugo on the bench behind them. 4 minutes had gone by and the door on the side of the room opened up and out came Izuku's father. Izuku's eyes widened when he saw his father handcuffed and wearing the orange jumpsuit. Dad. Feeling his heart rate increase, Izuku began to sweat, and he was just about to have a panic attack when he felt someone grab his hand. Looking down, Izuku noticed that it was Mei. It's okay, I'm right here with you. Calming down, Izuku went back to looking at his father. Hisashi and his son smiled at each other as the hearing was about to begin. A minute later, Izuku, along with everyone in the court, stood up as the judge and jurors walked into the courtroom. This is Hisashi Midoriya vs. Japan. Both sides will try to convince the jury why this man shouldn't or should be free in light of new evidence. This might take all day, so let's get on with it. Izuku watched as police, old neighbors, heroes, and even Bakugo's parents took the stand and talked about what happened that night. All this did was flood Izuku's mind with terrible memories of Melissa and what she did. But every time Izuku thought that he would panic, Mei was there to comfort him. This went on for an excruciating 8 hours. It was now 5 p.m., and it was now up to the jury. Izuku watched as the 12 individuals walked into another room to decide his father's fate. This could take hours, if not go on to the next day. For 5 long hours Izuku waited in anguish for a verdict. All Might had taken the stand. The number 1 hero took the stand and told the jury about Melissa. How she confessed to killing his mother that fateful day, but was it enough? Izuku held his hands to his forehead when he heard the door to the jury room open. Snapping his head up, Izuku knew this was it. They came to a verdict. They brought Hisashi out once again, and the judge took a seat. Has the jury come to an agreement? One of the jurors stood up. Yes, Your Honor. The judge nodded. Very well, speak the verdict. Pulling out a note, the juror began to read out loud. When it comes to the case of Hisashi Midoriya versus Japan, we the jury find the accused. Mei, who was still holding Izuku's hand, could feel him squeeze tighter. Not guilty. Hearing those words, the courtroom erupted in cheer. Izuku had tears running down his face when those words that he longed for, finally processed into his mind. Mei immediately hugged Izuku, as she too had tears coming down her face. Hisashi himself had his face on the table, tears streaming down his face. Mr. Midoriya, you had several conditions placed on you while in court. As of this moment, all conditions are hereby void and removed. You are now a free man. Thank you, Your Honor. With the strike of a gavel, Hisashi Midoriya was now a free man. A guard then came and removed his restraints. Turning to face the stands, Hisashi found Izuku being held up by Mei. Izuku had so many emotions running through his head right now that he couldn't take a step towards his father. But that's when Aizawa gave him a light push from behind. Go on, kid, you've waited long enough for this moment. Wiping the tears away, Izuku quickly ran towards his father, and for the first time in years hugged him. Dad! Hisashi hugged his son. I'm here, son, I'm here. The judge cleared the room, but everyone else stayed. After several minutes, father and son separated. Wow, oh wow, you really have grown taller. From the other side of the glass, I thought it was just an illusion, joked Hisashi. Izuku laughed. No tricks here, Dad. But you should thank Masaru and Mitsuki for feeding me. Hisashi looked at his old friends. Thank you for taking care of Izuku. I know Inko would be thankful as well. I'll repay this kindness, I swear to you. Mitsuki smiled as she held her husband's hand. Please, we didn't do much. It was our pleasure taking care of Izuku. Right, Dad, this is Aizawa. He's my homeroom teacher at UA. I'm currently interning with him, said Izuku. Aizawa appeared and bowed slightly. It's good to finally meet you, Mr. Midoriya. And congratulations on being released. Hisashi nodded. The pro-hero Eraserhead is your homeroom teacher. I did not see that coming. Izuku smirked. Then I bet you won't see this coming. Dad, meet All Might, the man who helped you become a free man. That's when All Might himself stepped forward. Mr. Midoriya, it's an honor to meet you. Hisashi was starstruck. It's All Might in the flesh. The honor is mine. Even inside the walls of the jail, your heroic acts spread. Thank you for all you've done for me, said Hisashi, bowing. All Might smiled. Please, it's what a hero would do. I'm just sorry it took so long to set you free. Raising his head, Hisashi smiled. Don't be. As long as I'm with Izuku, everything will be fine. That's when Hisashi noticed someone beside his son. Is that who I think it is? Mei jumped slightly. In all the years she'd known Izuku, this was the first time seeing Hisashi. In the past, Mei had asked to visit him, but Izuku refused, saying that the first time they would meet was when he was a free man. Dad, this is Mei Hatsum, my girlfriend, said Izuku. It's nice to finally meet you, sir. I mean Mr. Midoriya, said Mei, slightly panicking. Hisashi's eyes softened. Hey, relax, I'm not going to hurt you. So you're Hatsum. Thank you for staying by Izuku's side, and I hope you'll continue to do so. Of course, said Mei, excitedly. Izuku saved me, there's no way I'm ever leaving him. Izuku blushed slightly at Mei's comments. Well, would you look at that? Seems like you have a wife now, you damn nerd, said Bakugo, jabbing his elbow into Izuku's side. Shut up, said Izuku. You know that's a long way out. As the group talked, a security guard walked over to them. Sorry folks, I have to ask you to leave, the next session is about to begin. But before any one of them could move, a yellow streak of light appeared in front of the man, before disappearing. However, that's when it happened. Blood came splattering out from the guard's neck as it had now been sliced open. Izuku's eyes widened. He didn't even see what the light was, or worse yet, who it was. They were moving so fast, I didn't even see them. However, as the initial shock hit them, several thuds were heard. Looking around, the group found the bodies of every single guard on the floor, and with blood pooling underneath them. What the hell just happened? And what was that light? asked Bakugo. Aizawa pulled down his goggles. I don't know. But that light, this must be the person killing the heroes. It's Stain. All Might couldn't believe it. Where is he? Midoriya. Just then the yellow light began to circle around them, like a shark hunting its prey. Izuku shook his head. Can't see. They're moving too fast, even for me. Hold on, I think I can. Raising his hand with the ring on his, Izuku generated lightning, and the resulting heat caused his costume to spring out. In a flash of green light, Izuku ran towards his costume and quickly put it on. Stay here, I'll catch this guy. Aizawa's eyes widened. Wait, kid! Don't! But it was far too late. Izuku ran after the yellow light, but before he could even get close to the person, a hand wrapped around his neck. The entire room was hit with a powerful gust of wind as a result of the sudden stop in speed. Then a laugh echoed throughout the room. Far too slow, Izuku Midoriya. Standing in front of the group and with one hand around Izuku's neck, was Stain with a mask on his face. Izuku! Yelled Mei. She tried to go help him but was stopped by Aizawa. Don't! Shouted Aizawa. Stain, you kill heroes, right? Let the boy go, he isn't a hero yet. Stain looked up at Aizawa. Oh, Eraserhead, I've heard stories of your heroics. So brave, but yet so stupid at the same time. But it's as you say, I am the hero killer. Yes, this boy isn't a hero yet, but he will be, and how he is now, he is the greatest threat to my plans. That is why I will kill him. Hisashi's eyes widened. Like hell you are. Dropping Izuku, Stain ran at Hisashi and lifted him off the ground and pinned him against the wall with enough force to crack it. Looking up from the ground, Izuku looked at his father. Dad! Leave him alone! With sparks flying off of him, Izuku charged Stain, closing his fist. Izuku threw a punch. But just as he was centimeters from connecting, Stain turned his head and looked right at Izuku. Good, just like how I remember. Faster than Izuku could react, Stain grabbed the sword that was on his back and slashed down. Izuku's eyes widened as Stain cut him from chest to midsection. However, before the pain could even register, Stain began to punch Izuku in the face, over and over again. In real time, Mei and the others saw nothing but yellow and green light fighting with each other. All Might, do something! Yelled Mei. But what could he do? I can't, they're moving too fast for me to see. If I go in blind, I might hit Midoriya. Then it was over. The group saw both lights die down, but only one staying on. Everyone's eyes widened when they saw the result of the fight. Izuku was on the floor bleeding from the wound on his chest and bruises all over his body. Stomping on Izuku's head, Stain turned towards those present. He put up a decent fight, but when he wakes up, I want you to tell him something. In 3 days my friends will attack a city and wipe out everyone in it. But I could care less about that. What matters is that in 3 days Izuku will have to choose. In a flash of yellow, Stain appeared behind Mei and Hisashi. He will pick between these two, one will live, and the other will die. Tell him not to bother searching, he won't find them. The next time we meet, I won't be so merciful. Oh, I almost forgot, my new friend sent over a gift, I hope you enjoy it. And just like that, Stain was gone, along with Mei and Hisashi. But not long after they disappeared, a black portal opened up in the courtroom. Aizawa instantly recognized what it was. It's the same portal from the USJ. Then that means... Both All Might and Aizawa readied themselves. From the portal a roar was heard and out came a Nomu that had the appearance of a tiger. It wasted no time and attacked All Might. The hero was pushed back as the creature tried to bite him. This one is different. It's not as strong. Aizawa jumped, and using his capture weapon he wrapped it around the creature's neck and pulled it off All Might. Now! But before All Might could attack it, a blast of heat hit the Nomu. What followed surprised even All Might. A massive explosion hit the creature dead on. It screeched out in pain as another blast came in, followed by another, then another. Soon pieces of the monster's body were missing and its pained screams were silenced. Both heroes turned to find Bakugo was the one who just finished it off. Bakugo then ran towards Izuku. Hey nerd, come on, get up! You need to save your dad and girlfriend. Come on, get up! But Izuku was not completely out. Bakugo then turned to Aizawa. Get him help now! Chapter 15 Choice. After the incident, Izuku was quickly taken to a local hospital. Bakugo and his parents followed behind them as they were still technically his guardians. Bursting through the doors to the OR, Izuku was put on a bed and wheeled into a spare room. The nurses and doctors got to work doing what they could. By the end of it, Izuku was out of any mortal danger, which was good news. Bakugo and his parents were then led into a room where Izuku lay still under the effects of the aesthetic and his injuries. Outside, Aizawa and All Might stood looking through the glass. "I didn't think Stain was this fast," said Aizawa. "He was on a completely different level." All Might nodded. "I agree, and this wasn't a random attack. Stain knew about Izuku's father and chose to attack this day. And now it seems he's aligned himself with the League. There's also the matter of Hatsum. Why did Stain take her? Was it really just to piss Midoriya off? All that's going to do is push him to take him down," explained Aizawa. "Still, the time and room for this trial was meant to be secret. The only people who knew about it were those present. So someone squealed. If they did once, they'll probably do it again. Let's go find out who talked." With that, the two heroes went off to find out the person in question. Unknown location. Mei and Hisashi both slowly began to wake up. Looking around, they noticed they were in a cell. "Where are we?" asked Mei. Hisashi then suddenly got a feeling of nostalgia. "We are in a prison cell. Cold air, metal bars, and a cement floor. Seems like I'm back in my old cell." Mei tried to get up but was suddenly stopped when she noticed chains around her neck. "What the? These are quirk eliminators. Only the government is supposed to have these." "How right you are, Mei Hatsum. You're as smart as they say you are," said a voice from the other side of the metal bars. Appearing from the darkness was Stain, his white mask reflecting off the small amount of light. Hisashi got up and tried to attack Stain, but the chain stopped him. "What do you want from us? We aren't heroes, so let her go at least." "I'll stay. One hostage should be enough to get what you want." Stain thought about it. "Yeah, no. The two of you have roles to play in my upcoming fight." Mei sat back down knowing that there was nothing she could do. "So you're the hero killer? As your name implies, I thought you only attacked heroes. I've never seen or heard of you taking hostages." Stain looked at Mei. "I don't, but in order to get to Izuku, I needed some help." "Ha! Izuku is going to find you and kick your ass," yelled Hisashi. "Your time spent killing heroes is just about to end." With yellow lightning jumping off of him, Stain grabbed the bars of the cell. "I wasn't always like this. I used to save lives, but slowly after time I found out the truth." "What truth?" asked Mei. "The truth is that the way of the heroes was flawed. We fight, I win, they are thrown in jail, they get out, and then we go back and forth. The endless cycle starts again, and every time it does, people get hurt. So I decided to end that cycle. I set out to achieve peace. So I stopped holding back. I purged my world of the villains. But the heroes labeled me a villain. After all I did for them, they turned on me." Suddenly the cell Mei and Hisashi were in began to shake violently. "So if they wanted a villain, I gave them one." Looking at Stain, Mei suddenly saw his eyes turn green for a split second before returning back to red. "I killed them all, every single villain, every single hero. Then and only then were my goals fulfilled." Hearing this, Mei understood. "Why you're from another Earth." The cell stopped shaking. "See, told you, smart. I come from an Earth very much like this one." "How did you even get here?" asked Hisashi. Stain smiled underneath his mask. "As my quest of washing the world of filth went on, I came across a certain speedster in my world. Care to guess who it was?" Mei's eyes widened. "Izuku, you killed him!" "Right again. Killing him wasn't easy, but eventually I found out his weakness." Stain then pointed at the two of them. "You two are not only his greatest strength, but also his greatest weakness. Thanks to you two, I was able to kill him and take his speed from my own. With his speed, I was able to take on everyone in a matter of minutes. Then I had done it peace. However, one day when I looked over my completed work, something happened. It was as if time and space itself began to crumble and shift, almost like a bomb had gone off. My world began to crumble and disappear, but just as it did, I heard a voice. It told me to run, so I did. I ran faster than I ever had before, and then it happened. A bright white light engulfed me, blinding me for a moment. But when I opened up my eyes, I realized that I wasn't on my Earth anymore. When I arrived here, I hypothesized that someone was messing with the fabric of time and space. Whoever it was, They caused a ripple effect throughout the multiverse, opening and connecting each one of them but only to those with super speed. And no, said Mei, knowing what this meant. When Izuku went back in time to save his mom. Stain stayed silent before laughing. He caused this. Oh, that's just great. You have to stop. If you spend time here or interfere with this world, there's no telling what you would change, said Mei. Stain was surprised. Stop? Why would I stop? I get a chance to clean up this world. Think about it, a world where there's no more crime, no victims, no pain. It'd be perfect. A perfect world built on blood, said Hisashi. You'd kill countless people just for that stupid dream. Stain eyes widened. No! Not a stupid dream, the dream. I built a world where no boy would ever lose his parents because some hero couldn't save them. I won't make the same mistakes. Never again. Mei saw Stain's eyes soften. But in order to do that, I need Izuku out of the picture. He is the only person who has any chance of stopping me. However, first I need to break Izuku. But as Stain was speaking, a black portal opened up behind him. Oh, seems like my new friends want to talk. I'll see the two of you later. Turning his back on the two, Stain walked into the portal. Mei couldn't believe what she just heard and saw. Izuku mentioned something about a portal when the USJ was attacked, and the ones responsible were the League of Villains. And now they are working together. Don't worry, Hatsum, Izuku will come and find us, just you wait. My son got me out of prison. He can get the both of us out of this mess, said Hisashi, trying to calm Mei down. Mei nodded. Why, yeah, of course. Izuku will find us soon enough. Then we can get back to making babies together. Exactly. Wait, what? What did you just say? Asked Hisashi, confused as to what Mei and Izuku were doing. Hospital, 2 days later. It had now been 2 days since Mei and Hisashi were taken. During that time, countless heroes went out to find them, but to no avail. Izuku, on the other hand, was still asleep. The wound on his chest healed rapidly, but still Izuku wouldn't wake up. Bakugo was sitting beside the bed looking at Izuku. You know, this is the second time you're in a hospital and refused to wake up. We waited so long for you to wake up. But this time I don't think we can afford to wait. The inventor and your dad are still missing, and it's been 2 days since then. Stain gave us a 3 days warning. You can't lose them now. Not after what you've gone through, with Mei, and especially your dad. So get up, please. But still nothing. Bakugo sighed and got up to leave, but just as he was at the door frame he heard sparks. Turning, Bakugo found green lightning jumping off of Izuku's body. Shielding his eyes, Bakugo was suddenly hit by a bolt of lightning and sent crashing to the floor. Groaning in pain and with a slightly burnt shirt, he looked up to see Izuku sitting up on the bed, his eyes sparking green lightning. Izuku looked at his hand before looking at Bakugo, the spark in his eyes dying down. Kaken? Where am I and what happened? In a hospital, again, explained Bakugo. As to what happened, you got your ass kicked. The masked villain sliced you from the chest down. Izuku's eyes widened as he began to remember. That's right, that person, they were fast. Faster than me. He then turned to Bakugo. Is everyone all right? Bakugo looked away. Izuku immediately began to worry. Who? With a heavy heart, Bakugo turned and looked at Izuku. Hatsum and your dad. They're both missing after that guy took them. Thing is, what happened at the courthouse was 2 days ago and there still hasn't been any word on them. Without skipping a beat, Izuku quickly got off the bed and stood up. I have to go, I have to find them. But before Izuku could even look for his clothes, Aizawa appeared from the door. Hold on, kid, you have to wait first. Izuku turned. Wait? Mei and my dad are missing and you want me to wait? Aizawa nodded. Yes, that person was Stain. Let me ask you something, even after he just sent you to the hospital, do you think you can beat him? Thinking about it, Izuku shook his head. No, but still, I have to try. Aizawa then stepped up to Izuku. You'll try and fail. Right before Stain left, he warned us that he wouldn't be so merciful next time you met. He put you in the hospital the first time you met, the next he'll kill you. Are you ready for that? Izuku once again stayed silent. Aizawa was right, he would die if he faced Stain again. Then what can I do? I can't just stay here and do nothing. Wrong, you can do something. Stain said he would face you in 3 days. That means we have 1 day to make you faster than he is. Do that, and there's a chance we can save them both," said Aizawa, placing a hand on Izuku's shoulder. "Faster, I can't. 1 day isn't enough to get that much faster." That's when Izuku thought of something. "Unless we add skill to the mix." Aizawa smirked. "I like where this is going. I need you to train me. Once I save Mei and my dad, I need to beat this guy," said Izuku, staring at Aizawa. "Let's get to it then. Oh right, before I forget. Catch." Reaching into his pocket, Aizawa threw something at Izuku. Catching it, Izuku looked down at it and smiled, revealing it to be the ring with his suit in it. "Thanks, now I'm ready." The next day, 10:35 p.m. Every city across Japan was on high alert. Nizu, with the help of the police, were able to send out a message to every hero agency that an attack was coming today. Throughout the day, heroes combed the streets ready for anything. But as the day went on and night began to fall, their nerves began to show. Every little event that happened in a city triggered an all-out response. But as soon as they found out that it wasn't serious, they began to get paranoid. Little by little, the heroes got more and more worried. But now that it was night time and still nothing had happened, most simply went back home to rest. Izuku, on the other hand, was currently with Aizawa training. "Man, you don't get tired, do you?" asked Aizawa. "We've been training for 10 hours straight." "No, not really, but we should rest. We both need to be at top form if we want to take down Stain," explained Izuku as he threw himself onto a chair. After a moment of silence, Izuku spoke. "Hey Aizawa, tell me the truth. Do you think I can take on Stain now?" Aizawa took a second to answer that, but he ultimately sighed. "Truthfully, I don't know. We only saw him once and his speed was greater than yours. You'll have to fight, and fight hard to even touch him." Izuku chuckled. "Well, as long as I save the both of them, it's fine. I won't lose Mei, she might be the most important person in my life. Also my dad, I just got him out of jail, there's still so much we have to do together." But during all this, Aizawa had failed to inform Izuku about the choice he would have to make. He would have to choose between Mei or his father. One would live and the other would die. The reason why no one told him was because they thought it would be better for Izuku. If he knew about this beforehand, he wouldn't be able to focus on saving the both of them. Little did Aizawa know that this would prove to be one of the greatest mistakes of his life, second only to losing Shirakumo. As the two sat in silence, an alarm suddenly went off. Getting up, Aizawa ran to his computer and received an alert that the villains were on the move. "Hosa City, a large number of nomas has appeared. All available heroes are already on their way." Aizawa then turned to Izuku. "Let's go join them." Izuku nodded. Holding out the ring on his finger, Izuku began to generate lightning. In a flash of green, the costume inside suddenly shot out. Izuku then ran at his costume and put it on. Now donning his costume, Izuku was ready. "Let's go save them." "Right," said Aizawa. "Wait, how are you going to get me there?" Izuku smiled. "Cradle or piggyback?" "What?" asked Aizawa. "Cradle or piggyback? I can carry you one of 2 ways," explained Izuku. "Choose." "What either?" said Aizawa. "Both ways are undignified." But Izuku simply shrugged. High above the city, a streak of green light was seen going through the streets. "I hate this," said Aizawa, as Izuku gave him a piggyback ride. "Hosa City. We need more backup!" yelled a hero into his communication device as several cars exploded behind him. "Backup is already on the way. Hold on as long as you can," responded the dispatcher. But the hero didn't have much time left. "Open fire!" yelled a police officer. Several cops then fired at a Noma that had no eyes, but the bullets simply bounced off of him. "Sir! There's no stopping these things. They already took down our police station and several of the hero agencies," yelled another officer. "I don't care. Hold this line until more heroes get here. If we hold for a bit longer, the civilians can evacuate," yelled the commander. But just then the no-eyed Noma stood in front of the officer. Letting out a roar, it grabbed the car and threw it aside. It then reached out to grab the officer, but just before it could, a green streak of light went by. The Noma was surprised when it felt nothing in its grasp. Sniffing the air, it then turned, and standing in front of it was Izuku and Aizawa. "You good?" asked Izuku, as the officer looked around in surprise. The officer nodded. Why, yeah, thank you. Good, now get out of here. We'll deal with these guys, you and your men help with the evacuation, ordered Aizawa, to which the officers obeyed. He then turned to Izuku. You are never carrying me like that ever again. Izuku smirked. Why? Don't like the piggyback ride I gave you? Shut up and get to work. We have to take these things down, said Aizawa, pulling down his goggles. Should be simple enough, said Izuku as he looked up to see several nomas. We'll deal with this and then go find Mei and my dad. Charging up his lightning, Izuku suddenly ran at the nomas. Pulling his fist back, Izuku was just about to punch one when he saw something. Out of the corner of his eye, Izuku could faintly see a spark of yellow. Izuku turned his head, but as he did, the yellow light came crashing into him. As a result, Izuku was thrown into a wall of a nearby store, causing it to collapse on top of him. Midoriya! Yelled Aizawa as he saw the green hit the wall. But he didn't even have time to check on Izuku when a Noma ran at him. Jumping into the air, Aizawa did his best to dodge. From the rubble, a hand suddenly appeared. Soon, Izuku rose up from the pile. I wondered if I had to go look for you. You just saved me a lot of trouble. Standing a few meters away was Stain, his mask over his face, and sword on his back. Izuku Midoriya, we meet again and right on time. So, how are your injuries? Did they heal up all right? Asked Stain, mocking Izuku. Gritting his teeth, Izuku responded. Perfectly fine. So tell me, where is Mei and my dad? Stain smiled underneath the mask. I'll tell you what, if you survive 5 minutes against me, I'll tell you where they are. But during those 5 minutes, I'll be trying to kill you. Are you up for it? Narrowing his eyes, Izuku's body suddenly sparked green lightning. Bring it. I'm not the same guy you met 3 days ago. I won't go down so easily. Stain reached behind his back and grabbed his sword. We'll see about that. In a flash of yellow, Stain appeared in front of Izuku, sword already swung. Izuku's eyes widened when he saw this, and instinctively leaned back. The blade passed mere centimeters from Izuku. Not bad, let's see if you can dodge this, yelled Stain as he turned and slashed down. Still leaning back, Izuku saw the blade come down. Thinking fast, he used his momentum to fall and do a backflip. But as he flipped in the air, he outstretched his arm and touched the floor. That's when he pushed off the ground, narrowly dodging the blade as it hit the ground. Sliding to a stop and with sparks flying off him, Izuku looked at Stain. It seems you really have improved. And in 3 days no less, most impressive. But unfortunately for you, I've seen those moves before, said Stain, putting away his sword. Izuku's eyes widened when Stain ran at him. What he saw surprised Izuku. It looked as if Aizawa himself was attacking him. Stain's movements were exactly like Aizawa, down to the angle of his legs. Izuku tried to dodge, but Stain punched him across the face, hard enough to draw blood. Turning, Izuku swung his fist and managed to graze Stain's mask. Enough of this! Tell me where Mei and my dad are! Yelled Izuku. Stain stopped running and looked at a timer on his wrist. You still have 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Try and stay alive, for their sake. Feeling frustrated, Izuku began to produce lightning. Tell me! The two speedsters then ran at each other. Meeting in the middle, a loud boom echoed throughout the city, shattering windows and knocking down people. However, as they fought, Shigaraki and Kurojairi stood atop a building watching the yellow and green lights. Was this really a good idea, Shigaraki? Asked Kurojairi. Shigaraki nodded. Yes, it's like Master said. We can't let this fake Stain ruin us. The only reason the Master agreed to help him was he thought the heroes would be able to stop him. However, it seems like the same kid who stopped us at the USJ is their only hope. But what if he fails? What becomes of us then? Asked Kurojairi. Shigaraki smiled. It's still a win-win for us. The speedster dies and we go down as the ones who leveled an entire city. Besides, if it comes down to it, the Master has a plan. Still though, it seems this Stain has a personal vendetta against the student. I wonder what it could be. 4 minutes and 30 seconds later. With a loud boom, Stain punched Izuku across the face. Blood splattered across the floor as Izuku staggered back. The last 4 minutes and 30 seconds were nothing short of a one-sided beatdown. Izuku did manage to break Stain's sword, but that only pissed him off. Grabbing Izuku's head, Stain then ran into a wall and began to drag him. Pieces of the wall broke off as Izuku's face dragged along. Getting to the end, Stain threw Izuku to the ground. Rolling to a stop, Izuku spit out blood as his mask was shredded in one half. Sighing, Stain hung his head. Man, you are really slow, aren't you? Slowly picking himself up, Izuku bled onto the floor. Speak for yourself, I'm only getting warmed up. Yeah, but unfortunately for you, you are all out of time, said Stain looking at his timer. Izuku raised an eyebrow. What are you talking about? Here, I think you should hear this. Stain reached into his pocket and pulled out a radio, and then tossed it. Catching it, Izuku looked at it for a second when two voices were heard from it. Izuku! Yelled two people. Immediately Izuku recognized them. Mei! Dad! Where are you? I'm in a dark place, Izuku, I can't see a thing, said Mei. Same here, can't see. We have no idea where we are, said Hisashi. Just hold on a bit longer, I'll find you and save you both. I promise, said Izuku, now panicking. However, that's when Stain began to laugh. That's where you're wrong, kid. You won't be able to save them both. What are you talking about? Asked Izuku, turning to Stain. No one told you? Stain then smirked. I place bombs. Right now both Mei and your father are surrounded by enough explosives to level a small building. And you're running out of time. Izuku's eyes widened. Screaming, he ran at Stain and actually managed to grab him. Slamming him up against a police car, Izuku began to punch him over and over again. Tell me where they are. Tell me. But as Izuku kept punching, Stain only smiled. Yes. This is more like it. As Izuku went in for another punch, Stain managed to grab it out of midair. Should you really be wasting your time here? Holding up his wrist, Stain showed that Izuku only had 15 seconds left. Time is running out, Izuku. And you'll only get to save one. Now is the time you choose. Both are 1,500 miles from here. They could be in a building, underground, could be anywhere. Mei is west, and your father is east. You have 13 seconds. Gritting his teeth, Izuku head-butted Stain one final time before taking off. Grabbing the radio, Izuku began to look for them. Hold on, you two, I'm coming! With Mei strapped to a chair, Mei managed to shake off the blind over her head. Looking around, she saw the amount of explosives around her. My God! Just then Hisashi's voice came through a radio mounted on the wall next to Mei. Hatsum? What do you see? Explosives, and a lot of them. Enough to level a small building, explained Mei. How did we even get here? I don't know, but I'm sure that guy in the mask brought us here, said Hisashi. How are you anyway? Are you injured? Mei looked at herself. No, I'm fine. Good. I would have hated it if something were to happen to you, said Hisashi. Hatsum, thank you. Mei raised an eyebrow. For what? For being with Izuku. These last couple of years have been hard for him. But I get the feeling, I know because of you he found the strength to keep going, said Hisashi as he shook off the bag over his head. I didn't do much, honestly. Izuku has always had a way of never giving up no matter how hard things got. Just like right now, Izuku is coming to save us, I know he is. But just then a beep sound was heard. Mei turned to find a clock counting down from 12 seconds. He's coming! Hisashi heard the same beeping on his side, and looking to his left he too saw the timer. Hatsum, listen to me, I know we haven't spent a lot of time together, but I can see you really care for Izuku. So I need you to promise me something. Please, keep an eye on Izuku for me. Mei's eyes widened. You can do that yourself when he saves us. 10 seconds. Please, Hatsum, promise me that. 9 seconds. I won't. I know what you're trying to do. Izuku is going to save you. He's spent too much time trying to get you out of jail just to lose you now. I love Izuku, but he needs you more than he needs me. He has to save you, he will, said Mei as the timer hit 6 seconds. MHA! Yelled Hisashi, much to Mei's surprise. Please, make sure he doesn't do anything he would regret. 4 seconds left. As Mei was about to say something, the door to the building she was in exploded. Green lightning then sparked around the room as Izuku quickly went in and got Mei out of the building. Mei! Are you alright? Asked Izuku, frantically. She couldn't believe it, as Mei stood there in shock. Tears began to run down her face. Your dad! Why did you come for me? Go find your dad! Izuku turned and saw the timer hit 3 seconds. I'm going! Picking Mei up, Izuku ran back to Hosu, where he found Aizawa helping people evacuate. Dropping her off next to him, Izuku didn't even stop, he just took off. As he ran to the east, the timer hit 2 seconds. As he ran, the radio Izuku had suddenly turned on. Son! Izuku's eyes widened. Dad! Hold on, I'm coming! Pushing himself faster than before, Izuku made it to the water. His father could be on several hundred small islands found in the Pacific Ocean. Making it about 1,500 miles out to sea, Izuku went around, looked, found, and checked each island he came upon. It's okay, Izuku. I know I've told you many times, but I want you to hear it one more time. I am so proud of you, said Hisashi, with sadness in his voice. Hearing his dad's voice, a tear ran down Izuku's face. Dad, stop, I'm coming to save you. 1 second. If your mom was alive to see you, she would be as well. I'm sorry I was such a lousy father. I wish I could have been there for you on your birthday, graduation, and when you got married. But I will always be watching. Me and your mom will be. Life's going to be unfair sometimes, but you'll get through it like you always do. Run at them, Hedon. Always remember, never look back. Izuku then came across a small island that had a makeshift building on it. Dad, I see the island. I'm here, yelled Izuku as he pushed himself. However, Hisashi smiled. I love you, Izuku. Dad! Taking a step on the island's sandy beaches, Izuku bursted through the door and saw his father. He reached out for him, but as he did, the timer hit 0. As the world moved in slow motion, Izuku looked up at his father and was surprised. Even now, with death having a hand around his neck, Hisashi smiled at Izuku. "No!" yelled Izuku as the final thing he saw was a fireball taking his father. The resulting shockwave threw him back. Izuku was then engulfed in a fireball and fell into the ocean and slowly began to sink. Quickly swimming back to the island, Izuku slowly made it to the sand. With his hero costume in shreds, he looked around to find debris and fire all around him. Walking to where the building was, Izuku fell to his knees and began to grab burning logs. The flames burned his hands, but Izuku didn't care. Tossing them aside, Izuku stopped when he saw his father. Reaching down, Izuku lifted Hisashi's body. Dad, hey, come on, Dad, wake up. Please, not again. I can't lose you too, please, Dad, wake up. With tears welling up in his eyes, Izuku felt his heart shatter. Now unable to hold back his tears, Izuku let it all go. There was still so much I needed to do with you, so much to talk about. Why? Why? Izuku then looked up to the sky. Is this all just some sick joke? Is it? I lost my mom and now my dad. The world doesn't want me to be happy. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. With Aizawa. Using his capture weapon, Aizawa managed to ground the flying Noma. Using his knife, he clipped the wings, rendering it unable to fly. With it now down, Aizawa then used his capture weapon to hold it down. This one is down, take it! Several police officers then came and took it away. But just as Aizawa thought that it was over, more Nomas appeared. There's no end to these things. We need all might or endeavor. We need. But before Aizawa could finish his sentence, a massive bolt of green lightning struck within the city, shattering windows and breaking walls. The resulting thunder echoed throughout the city and beyond. Covering his ears, Aizawa wasn't sure what was going on. Once the noise disappeared, he looked up to find all the Nomas that were attacking the heroes turning to the east. What the? Is that? Coming down the main street, Aizawa and every hero present could see someone walking towards them. Mei, who was taking shelter on a rooftop, saw this, and using her quirk she zoomed in. And no. Izuku was coming down the street holding his father in his arms. But something was different. Every step Izuku took resulted in green sparks jumping off of him. Every Nomu roared before charging in, but just as they were about to reach Izuku, a flash of green light engulfed the area. Blinded, Aizawa shielded his eyes, but once he opened them he flinched when Izuku now stood in front of him. Aizawa. Izuku's voice was cold and empty. Looking up, Aizawa took a step back when he saw Izuku's eyes. The once bright light behind them was gone, and in its place was nothing. No light, no hope, No emotion. Take him. Looking down, Aizawa saw Hisashi's body. Nodding, Aizawa took Hisashi from Izuku. The speedster then turned around. Thank you, Aizawa. Now keep him safe while I deal with them. Hearing this, a shiver ran down Aizawa's spine. He tried to speak, but his body wouldn't let him. In all his years of fighting crime, Aizawa never froze. Mustering up every ounce of willpower, the veteran hero spoke. And Midoriya, what are you planning on doing? Without looking back, Izuku responded. Something I should have done from the start. With another bolt of green lightning, Izuku took off, but before the light could even register, it was over. Reappearing in front of Aizawa, Izuku dropped something at the hero's feet. Looking down, Aizawa couldn't believe what he was seeing. Midoriya! There on the floor, in a duffel bag, were all of the hearts of each and every single Nomu in the city. Then simultaneously every hero in the city reported that the Nomus just fell over dead. Izuku once again took Hisashi from Aizawa. Thank you? As if nothing had happened, Izuku began to walk, not run, walk past Aizawa. Reaching the bottom floor, Mei watched as Izuku carried Hisashi. Izuku! She yelled out to him, but he couldn't hear her. As he walked by her, Mei looked at Izuku's face only to see a single tear run down his face. The city was saved, no heroes were severely injured, and all of the civilians evacuated. But it came at a cost, one too high for Izuku to pay. Stain was nowhere to be found, but Aizawa knew he would be back. He also knew that whatever happened from now on was on Izuku, and for everyone's sake, he hoped the kid would make the right choices. The next day, Aizawa walked into a meeting with Nizu, All Might, and Naomasa, their topic of discussion, Izuku. Taking a seat, the hero could feel the heavy atmosphere. How is Midoriya? Asked Nizu. I don't know, after what happened he disappeared. I can only imagine what he's feeling right now, explained Aizawa. All Might then frowned. To have lost his father just days after he got out of prison. He worked so hard to get his father a second chance, only for this to happen. It isn't fair. Nizu nodded. It is a terrible thing, but I trust Midoriya will get through this. We already have a grievance counselor coming. They will help him. However, Aizawa thought otherwise. I'm not so sure if they could even help Midoriya. Everyone turned to Aizawa. I know what it's like to lose someone you care about, as well as some in this room. We all know you can go down some dark places. I almost never came out again, but eventually I changed. But you didn't see his eyes when he held his father in his arms. They were cold and empty. The Midoriya we knew is gone. And I get the feeling he's going to do something he will regret. With Izuku. Sitting down on the sand, Izuku stared off into the sunset, when all of a sudden he heard footsteps approaching from behind. Izuku. Mei, leave. I don't want to talk to anyone right now, said Izuku. Mei kept walking towards Izuku. I'm worried about you. Why? Asked Izuku. Mei stopped. Because I care about you, that's why. Izuku scoffed. I'm not worth worrying over. I let my dad die, and all because I wasn't fast enough. You're wrong. It wasn't your fault, Izuku, argued Mei. Yes, it was. I was so close, I could see my dad. I reached out for him, but... Izuku's voice began to break as he replayed the scene over and over in his mind. I didn't reach him in time, I couldn't get there fast enough, yelled Izuku. And to make things worse, Stain is gone. The heroes will find him and he'll get what's coming to him, Izuku, but you have to... But as Mei was speaking, Izuku interrupted. Yes, he'll get what's coming to him, but it won't be by the heroes, said Izuku, standing up. They'll just lock him up, and that's if they can catch him. But I can do it. I can get revenge for what he did to my dad. How's that old saying go, an eye for an eye, right? Mei's eyes widened. Izuku, you aren't thinking straight. You just went through something terrible. Take some time and... Just then green sparks jumped off of Izuku's body. Mei, I am thinking straight. Stain was willing to do whatever it took to get to me. So trust me when I say I will do the same to him. Stain will suffer. I won't make the same mistakes again. Never again. He then turned to Mei as his normal green lightning now had a hint of black surrounding it. I'm going to kill Stain. And that wraps up part 3, folks. Big shout out to our Smalls for penning this epic tale. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to speed on all things Speed Force. Until next time, keep chasing your dreams at lightning speed.